Welcome back to the 411 Podcasting Network. I am your host, Larry Csonka, and this is episode 100 of the 411 on Wrestling Podcast. You can follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, the 411mania.com website, and any major podcasting platform. Please make sure to subscribe to our show, share us around on social media, and if you have time, leave us a 5-star review on the podcasting platform of your choosing. Joining me today is my good friend and co-host, Steve Cook. Steve, how are you, sir?
Oh, hey, good sir.
And Steve, it's episode 100. We're going retro for this episode.
Going retro, going all the way back, my friends. Going all the way back to 1998. Larry, when these shows happened, I was almost 14 years old. So, being almost 14 years old tells me that the Attitude Era was right in my wheelhouse.
Well, I was 21 in college, so it was pretty in the wheelhouse for me too. So,
yeah, but I think it even appealed more to kids like me who, in this day and age, by God, all these parents don't let their kids watch anything. And it's not like I had bad parents or anything, but for whatever reason, they were okay with me watching wrestling at that particular time where it was probably the least appropriate it ever had been for kids.
Fair.
So. But, different age, I guess, different era, times change, people change and whatnot. But, it brings back a bunch of good memories for me when you think of the Attitude Era. And we're covering a show today, a couple shows really, that kind of set the stage for what was to come and helped WWF at the time get on the right track and help push it back to number one.
Now, we're deep in the Attitude Era, obviously, with this show, with what we're going to talk about. And Steve, there's always a lot of talk about like when the Attitude Era officially started. Some will kind of harken back to the early stuff Goldust did, because that was very out of the box for the time. A lot of people will point to the Austin 316 promo and the rise of Steve Austin. And then a lot of other people will say it is WrestleMania 14, which is what we're going to talk about today. Now, depending on what you believe and where it started, I think the one thing we can agree with is that the Austin era officially kicked off and started kicking major ass at WrestleMania 14.
Absolutely. And for me personally, as far as when the Attitude Era started, when there was Goldust going on, there were still a lot of other non-Attitude type things going on. Goldust was some interesting stuff, but there's still a lot of Sparky Plug and stuff like that going on. And even with later on with Austin 316, that still took a little bit catch on. For me, I think it kind of started, and it's kind of interesting that I bring up this name. We were just talking about him not a few minutes ago off the air. I think it starts right around the time, honestly, when Brian Pillman passes away. And even Mick Foley talks about it in his book, where it's right around that time, like the night after Vince has this big talk with the locker room. And that's kind of when he decides, okay, I'm going to go with some of the things that you guys are pitching me.
And I think that's fair. And it is interesting, because I know a lot of people people want to debate when and if it started here and there, and it's just kind of an interesting conversation when you look back on it. I think that's a good one to look to. So
also right in the heart of the Bret Hart stuff too, which led to some stuff which we'll get into.
So, but WrestleMania 14, we're going to talk not only WrestleMania 14, but we're going to talk the Raw the night after, because this is kind of a combo platter of importance for various reasons. And I think it's kind of important to talk about them both together.
Yeah, the Raw after Mania has been a thing for a very long time.
That's right. So we obviously start off with WrestleMania 14, March 29th, 1998, live from Boston, Massachusetts. Steve, Jim Ross, and Jerry Lawler, our hosts. We open up the show with a 15 tag team battle royal for a shot at the tag team titles. And again, getting people on the show was not just a recent thing, folks. They've always kind of done this. We had such luminaries and mainstay teams as Flash Funk and Steve Blackman, Bradshaw and Chains, Skull and 8 Ball, Jose Estrada and Jesus Castillo, Savio Vega and Miguel Perez, D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry, Farouk and Kama Mustafa, the Headbangers, the Godwins, the Quebecers, the Truth Commission, Too Much, the New Midnight Express.
Oh, God.
The Rock and Roll Express, who we're still talking about these days working.
Yeah, who knew that? I mean, some people forgot that the Rock and Roll Express actually did appear on a WrestleMania card.
That's
Barely.
right. And then, of course, making their return, the rebranded LOD 2000, along with the lovely Sunny.
Yes, and quite frankly, Sunny never looked better than she did at this point. As the valet of LOD 2000 in that outfit.
So
I might get yelled at for saying that, but it's a true statement. I'm sorry. I stand by it.
She was a lovely young lass then, Steve.
Yes,
I'm not going to...
Yes, she was. I'm not supposed to point these things out anymore. People get mad when I suggest that women look attractive. But, yeah, that's kind of what happened there.
So I will say, flat out, first of all, like, the Battle Royal is not good.
Is that in general, or do you mean this particular match, or just in general?
This particular one, but most Battle Royals do suck. I mean, you have like some weird teams like Bradshaw and Chains and Flash Funk and Steve Blackman in there. Like then you had like just fucking geeks like the Truth Commission and the Headbangers and the Boequas, both teams, and Skull and fucking 8-Ball and. But, like, I have, like, such a warm place in my heart for the Quebecers and the Rock and Roll Express. And
I forget the Quebecers even being around at this point, too.
Yeah, and so then, like, and then you have, like, the Rock and Roll Express, who I love, obviously. And then there's
Not exactly in their prime, of course.
No, but still, I love them. And then you have, like, the new Midnight Express. Now, in theory, let me say this. Bob Holly and Bart Gunn, in theory, are not a bad tag team.
Makes sense.
They're two dudes that aren't bad workers. They're in good shape. They could be a good tag team. But pigeonholing them as the new Midnight Express, absolutely the wrong call. Because they're out there with Cornette, and all anybody ever thinks of is the original Midnight Express versions, who were way better.
Mm-hmm.
And then, generally, the rule in wrestling is when you add the new in front of everything, it's usually shit.
Yeah, this thing had no chance. It was DOA, dead on arrival, much like the Disciples of Apocalypse faction. But the thing I was wondering about while I was watching these shows, I noticed Jim Cornette down ringside. Where was Jim Cornette's tennis racket? Jim Cornette did not have a tennis racket with him for the first time that I can ever remember seeing him without his familiar prop. Did he get lost at the airport, or what the heck happened?
Despite the fact that we were doing an NWA angle, the tennis racket was too much Southern wrestling.
Oh, God. Is that the answer? Oh,
it probably is. I don't know for sure.
Somebody should ask Jim Cornette on it. Actually, somebody should call the Corny drive-thru or email Corny drive-thru and ask him where the hell his tennis racket went for this show.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Dunn was like, too Southern, Jimmy. No.
Even though you already have Jim Cornette out there, and you already have him out there at the Midnight Express.
And the NWA fucking angle, yeah.
The NWA fucking Rock and Roll Express, the NWA in the back of their tights. Now, other than that, though, not to mention later on the show you have Tennessee Lee and Jeff Jarrett, but, that's too Southern.
That's right. And then, of course, you have the rebranded LOD 2000. And you know what? I know a lot of people shit on this and absolutely hate it, but first of all, this is better than Drunk Hawk jumping off of the fucking Titantron.
Mm-hmm.
That's safe to say. Number 2, I actually dug the new look when they came out with the fucking airbrushed hockey masks and everything. Like the new pads and shit, and I thought they looked good. Animal actually wearing trunks was different.
Yeah.
And you put Sonny with them, and I thought it was a cool refresh, and I mean, you can say it didn't go well and all that stuff, but again, it's better than Drunk Hawk, and it's also better than Heidenreich and Animal in the 2000s.
It was an idea, and they put some thought into it. They gave him a makeover pretty much, and I thought, especially on these two particular shows here, it looked pretty good. It looked like it had some potential, and, the things don't always live up to potential, but I think the idea was fine.
That's right. So, one of the worst parts of this Battle Royal is so much of it, like, shit happens kind of off camera.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on.
It's like you
Which,
kind
with
of
30 people in one ring, that's kind of what happens.
yeah, but like you kind of miss a lot of stuff. It's not really good. LOD 2000 picks up the big win, and they're gonna go on to a tag title shot down the line. I thought as far as a rebranding and getting them off to a good start, it worked. So I wouldn't call the match a complete failure due to that, but
Yeah,
not a good match.
it served its purpose. Yeah, it put LED 2000 over and got a lot of people on the card. But damn it, I had to watch New Midnight Express, so that it wasn't all great.
So
Yeah,
we have the WWE Light Heavyweight title match up next.
yeah,
Taka Michinoku defending against Aguila.
yes,
And they had a 6-minute little sprint. It wasn't bad. It was obviously very spotty, but it was very refreshing compared to the regular WWF stuff at the time.
yeah.
Like, I thought it was an okay match, and, Taka Michinoku hits the Michinoku driver. He wins. Some will just call it a spot fest. It was entertaining, though, and I enjoyed it overall. Not a great match by any means, but the card picked up a little bit with that one. I liked it.
Yeah, it was a fine match to throw out there for WrestleMania. Showcased Taka a little bit. We both know the problem with the light heavyweight division at this point. For WWF was
well, hang on. We're
the problem.
We're going to talk about the major problem when we get to Raw.
Well, yeah, there's a major problem there too. But I mean, the one I was going to refer to was the fact that in the mid to late 1990s, WCW had all possible cruiser / light heavyweight talent under contract.
Yeah,
WCW had everybody. Anybody you could possibly want, they
yeah.
had everybody. Anybody you could think of, and WWF was kind of left with the leftovers. Like, well, they missed Taka, and then they had like Brian Christopher and guys that they knew.
Yeah.
Did they try to pass Scott Putski off as a light heavyweight?
Yeah, they brought in the fucking Fantastics as well to work like single matches in the tournaments. Although, like, Tommy Rogers was still really good, though. So I mean,
he was good, but I mean, you could tell they're kind of scraping bottom of the barrel because they showed up a little too late to the party, which that still happens these days. Witness like Ring of Honor's ladies division. Once one party shows up all the good talent, you're kind of left with nothing.
So,
but fortunately, they missed out on Taka, and Taka's awesome. We like Taka.
That's right. So we moved on to a backstage interview segment with Jennifer Flowers.
Yes.
Now, there are some youngsters out there, Steve, who may not know who Miss Jennifer Flowers is. Jennifer Flowers, I'm going to pull up the old Wikipedia here, was an American singer and model and actress who revealed a sexual encounter with President Bill Clinton during 1998. She revealed this in January, and like 2 months later, she's on WrestleMania.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Although I gotta tell you, this day and age, you would not see that happen in 2020. Let me tell you that, especially considering who's in the White House right now.
So she's interviewing The Rock, and The Rock is he's the fucking Rock here. He's
Rock
talking
is Rock.
About,
Yes.
He's like, Jennifer, what you need to know is that The Rock is both the judge and the jury, and a hung jury at that.
Could you not tell that this guy was going to be box office?
And the ironic thing is like he drops the hung jury line, and the next night on Raw, we get the debut promo for Val Venus.
That's right.
So, and then of course, this is also where Rock dropped the "If you smell what the Rock is cooking" for the first time.
Man, just a great man, The Rock.
That line may work, Steve. It may have some legs.
It might get over, possibly. I'm not sure, but one thing I want to mention that does not appear on the network version of WrestleMania, the DX band, who we see playing Triple H and Shawn Michaels to the ring on this show. Prior to the show, they got to play "America the Beautiful" and the Star Spangled Banner, and it was the first time I'd seen their songs booed.
Yeah, it was down
because they were awful.
It was right up there with Downstain trying to play Cody's theme at the last AEW pay-per-view in terms of bad.
Yeah, it wasn't good. No, it was pretty rough.
So we go on to the WWE European Championship match. Our champion Triple H defending against Owen Hart. You have Chyna and Sergeant Slaughter at ringside, and they are handcuffed to each other due to Chyna constantly getting involved with Owen Hart and DX's business there. The Sarge tried to put the hammer down.
Yeah, he tried to put the hammer down. But let's be honest, this Commissioner Slaughter was not exactly Sergeant Slaughter from 1984.
No, and of course this feud came out of, Brett leaves, Owen tries to feud with Shawn and DX, and it doesn't really work well.
No.
Owen essentially becomes DX's bitch throughout this feud.
They weren't doing anything. They weren't putting him over one iota. No. Nothing.
They really weren't. So, you have Triple H and Owen Hart here. Two very good professional wrestlers. They got 11 and a half minutes. Chyna, of course, gets freed from Sergeant Slaughter because Sergeant Slaughter is a fucking geek.
Like I said.
And then, of course, she hits the old low blow, the Greco-Roman nut shot, and Triple H finishes Owen with the pedigree.
Wait a minute, hold on. I want to point out real quick that Chyna used the powder on Sergeant Slaughter. I want to point that out because we're talking about Cornette's tennis racket being too southern. And Chyna's out there using goddamn powder. Come on now.
Fair enough. But it goes 11 and a half minutes. Triple H finishes with the pedigree. I really could have done without the Chyna stuff because it didn't add anything to this at all. In terms of the ringside thing or the finish.
And Chyna got over as a face, too. They were cheering her powdering Sarge and whatnot. They cheered her beating him up after the match, too. So it was kind of counterproductive.
Yeah. The thing was, though, that this was a good match, though. Triple H and Owen, despite the fact that DX never tried to really do any favors for Owen, they worked really well together.
It had to be kind of awkward, didn't it?
A little bit.
I would think so, but but you can really tell from the action itself. I mean, Owen did a good job. We'll say that for him. He was willing to do business. He's willing to do what they told him to do, and perfectly fine little matchup here. And Triple H retains the European Championship, and Triple H looks good heading forward. Which Triple H was the young up and rising star here anyway. To be honest, as much as we love Owen, I think that was probably the right call to make there.
Yeah, so that was, for me, that's the match of the night so far, though. Best match on the card.
Well, we've had 3.
Yeah, but still, technically speaking, it's best match on the card.
Fair enough.
We move on to mixed tag team action. Mark Marrow and Sable facing off with Luna Vachon and the artist formerly known as Goldust. Now,
with the funky music. Let's not forget the funky music.
Yes. And if you don't know what the artist formerly known as Goldust is, Google it and be prepared to hate me.
Honestly, yeah. If you don't, I'm just gonna say if you don't know what it is, just kind of, Sometimes you're just better not knowing things.
Yeah, kind of. So,
just saying.
They had a mixed tag team match here. This was during the whole time where Sable was getting way more over than Mark Marrow, and Mark Marrow hated it.
Yeah. She
Didn't want her showing off her body. Luna Vachon was kind of Goldust's crazy girlfriend throughout this whole thing. It's just really, really fucking weird.
Luna always had a pretty consistent character, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, she kind of stayed the same throughout her entire career. She's always a little out there. A little nuts.
So, and the whole thing here was getting Sable over because she was the star.
And God bless Luna for working with Sable, too.
Yeah. Sable was not a very good professional wrestler. She looked great. She was over, and she tried. Wasn't a great wrestler, though.
No, Luna did her best.
Yes, Luna did everything she could to make her look good. Yeah. And at the end of the day, Sable hits the TKO, pins Luna, and stealing Mark Marrow's finish in the process.
Well, part of the story.
And, it's funny because basically in this feud, Mark Marrow and Goldust are the heels. Luna is just kind of there, and Sable is the mega babyface. I guess you could basically call Luna maybe a sympathetic heel. Because you kind of felt bad for her because, everybody ignored her.
Yeah, but she's going after Sable, too. So, the people loved Sable at this point.
That's right.
They loved her.
This is one of those weird instances where I kind of think, a Vince Russo booking idea did kind of work overall because it did get Sable over.
And that is the main point because, let's be honest, Marrow and Goldust at this point as much as you love Dustin Rhodes, at this point, nobody cared.
Yeah. And that's just being truthful. I thought it was an okay little match, but it definitely accomplished the goal of getting Sable over. And again, that was the main goal of this match. It was WrestleMania, get Sable over as a star.
Yeah,
and
so it worked on that respect. The match itself, but it served its purpose.
And Sable made money for them in terms of, driving internet traffic to them, the eventual Playboy cover and everything. She was popular in the ratings, so I mean, it's. Yeah,
along
again,
with Sunny, she paved the way. She was the original diva, if you will.
Yeah. So again, it's like not a great match by any means, but you're accomplishing your goal, so we'll give them that.
Yep,
that's the good thing. The WWF Intercontinental Championship on the line next. I've been brainwashed over the years. Damn fucking. So it is The Rock defending against Ken Shamrock.
Yes.
And these guys feuded for a long time throughout 1998. Famously, Rock fucking destroyed Ken Shamrock with a chair shot to the head at one point.
Oh, we got to see a replay of that, too, on this show, and that was brutal. Rock was, The Rock, his whole career was pretty stiff with his chair shots.
He really was, especially when he was hitting people in the head, dude.
He really did. That man swung for the fences. It was crazy.
So yeah, it's they have a very quick match. It's like, oh Christ, it's like not even 5 minutes. They worked really hard.
It's 4:49. You're right.
They worked really hard. They worked really fast. It's enjoyable for what it is. Ken Shamrock gets the ankle lock, and the Rock has to tap. He's done, but Ken Shamrock goes nuts. He beats the shit out of the Nation of Domination, puts the Rock back in the ankle lock because he's venting.
Yep.
Farouk decides he's going to run down and get involved, and then decides, nah, the Rock's good. Because
they had some issues going into this.
Yes, the tensions have been building between them, including they did that segment where the Rock gave the Nation gifts.
Yes.
He gave them Rolexes, and he gave Farouk a picture of the Rock.
That picture of Rock pretty popular, pretty valuable now is all I'm saying. Especially if you autographed it.
So due to Ken Shamrock being a fucking nutcase and trying to rip the Rock's ankle off, he's disqualified, and the Rock is still your WWF Intercontinental Champion.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a fair point. The man did go overboard. You could get away with disqualifying from kicking too much ass.
I'm just saying, I hope there were fines and suspensions levied here, Steve.
I would hope so. There's crazy stuff going on there. But yeah, fun little match here. I mean, it was definitely a short match, but it was fun. It was fun while it lasted. Rock was Rock, and Shamrock very over at this point. As we said before, I think if the last 10 years of Shamrock's MMA career don't happen, he's remembered a lot better.
Yeah. And, like, the sad thing about the Shamrock-Rock feud for me is that, like, for me, they never really got to have a chance to have a great match. Because it was all there. They had a story. They had the ability. This match feels like you cut 10 or 12 minutes off of a potentially great match.
Yeah,
and worked, like, the last 5 minutes.
The closest chance they had would have been the King of the Ring final. Which I don't even remember that match. I mean, I don't remember much of that show besides Foley flying off the cage. But I don't remember that being a classic match. They also had that triple threat later on with Mankind in the cage. I forget what show that was. It was one of the
I love that match. Yeah. But I'm just, in terms of one-on-one, though, I never felt that they got that chance. But I enjoyed their feud. Again, like you said, Shamrock was over. The Rock was really coming into his own as a potentially big star possibly down the line, Steve.
Maybe. This Rock guy might have some potential. We'll see how it pans out for him.
He shows some moxie, that Rock kid. So
I mean, but honestly, he looks. I mean, you watch his shows, he looks like he's the kind of guy that even the WWF can mess up.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you go back and watch during this time too, he was a guy that was growing week by week. Mm-hmm. Between 97, 98, 99, all through that, like every time you saw him, like a little better in the ring, a little more comfortable, a little more cocky, a little better on the mic. Like every week, it was something different. Like with The Rock, and like you could see, like, dude is becoming a star. And it was like, it's crazy when you think it, because you don't always get to see that these days with certain people. And you go back and you just watch The Rock's rise. And, yeah, I mean, the fucking people hated him. And then he became, like, the most beloved motherfucker in the world.
Damn right he did. Good. It's good stuff. And speaking of good stuff, next we got a dumpster match.
That's right. The WWF Tag Team Championships on the line as the New Age Outlaws defend against wild and old fellas Cactus Jack and Terry Funk. Terry Funk obviously still middle-aged and crazy as he was all the time.
Yeah, Chainsaw.
Yeah, Chainsaw Charlie.
They kind of phased out of the Chainsaw Charlie name at this point anyway.
Thankfully.
You still had the chainsaw.
I just don't understand why you had to rebrand Terry fucking Funk as Chainsaw Charlie.
Well, apparently, somebody said it was Terry Funk's whole idea.
Oh, okay.
But then, if it is Terry Funk's idea, you should probably tell him, no, we're not doing that.
Well, God bless him if it was his idea, but it wasn't a good one.
Exactly. You don't have to go along with every talent's ideas.
So we have about a 10-minute plunderific match here, as you would expect with Cactus Jack and Terry Funk. It's just they're trying to beat the shit out of the Outlaws. They're getting fucking dumped into fucking dumpsters and pallets and shit off of ladders. And Terry Funk like bruised his fucking kidneys in this match.
Oh, and it's a gross bruise as well.
It is. I mean, like that shit
brutal.
ain't fake, you know. So they worked.
I don't know how he got from Boston to Albany, quite frankly.
Yeah, really. So they worked really, really hard. And basically, in the end, the old and crazy bastards come back. They win the championships.
Yes,
and it's a great moment. Except that we find out the next night on Raw that they put the New Age Outlaws in the wrong receptacle.
You know, I mean, it's a technicality, I know, but they said, and they even announced before the match that they were supposed to deposit the losing tag team into that dumpster at ringside. They didn't say anything about the dumpsters backstage. They didn't say anything about the dumpster down the street. They specifically said the dumpster at ringside.
Yeah, so
it's the right call.
Yeah, I'm not saying. I'm just it's like it's one of those things that like the old dusty finish there. So, but yeah, it is what it is. It's not a particularly good match, but it's a fun plunder brawl with some cool spots that unfortunately tried to destroy Terry Funk's kidney. So
we have to mention the angle that led to this match too. Which the infamous angle, I'm sure most of you probably remember when Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie had their match on Raw, which I don't even remember why they were wrestling other than they were just crazy people. Somehow they both wound up inside I believe somebody took a dumpster out to the stage for some reason. I think Terry Funk winds up inside the dumpster and Jack does his elbow into the dumpster. They both wind up inside. And New Age Outlaws decide to come out and take the dumpster and push it off the stage.
By God, they're broken in half.
And I mean, and as today, the stage wasn't that big a fall, but my God, they put that over like they'd like just killed those two men.
They did.
Like you had everybody out there, like Sonny was out there crying, and they're like putting neck braces on Terry Funk and Cactus Jack, and it was put over as a really serious and pretty heavy moment. So pretty good stuff there. So of course later on in the show, Cactus Jack and Terry Funk come down with their IVs still on and beating up New Age Outlaws.
Of course, because they're fucking old and crazy, Steve.
Well, they are. It's a fair point, but still a memorable moment. No doubt about it.
It is. So again, like if you're looking for like in terms of a wrestling match, it's not particularly good, but it's entertaining as hell, and
plunder.
And it had a good angle going into it. Like
yeah.
Steve said. So next we have The Undertaker versus Kane.
Well, next we have, before all this Undertaker stuff happens, we have to put over the special guest ring announcer for this match, the legendary Cincinnati Red, the all-time Major League Baseball hit leader, Pete Rose, came out to do the special ring announcing.
Cincinnati Reds, who the fuck did they ever beat?
Well, they beat the Boston Red Sox back in 1975, so the Boston fans are not fucking happy about it. Thanks for that. That's a good setup on your part. I like that. So, And Pete, he does like this old school, like bad stand-up comedy routine.
Oh, dude,
You know?
I fucking,
Oh, it's great.
I left tickets for Bill Buckner, but he couldn't pick them up.
Oh, how about it? How about it? Yeah. My friend Bucky Dent says hello. Oh, it's great stuff, and it's kind of funny when you're watching 21 years later, and now the Boston Red Sox have won all these World Series. But at the time, they were the team that couldn't get done. The curse of the Bambino, as Rose pointed out, and yeah, he got some pretty serious heel heat. He might have been as over as a heel as anybody on the show.
Oh, he definitely was. They fucking hated him, dude.
Which
There's
then,
no doubt.
but then I kind of have to wonder. I mean, when you get Pete Rose over as a heel, why do you have Kane come out to give him the tombstone?
Yeah, that felt like really odd, but it did lead to like 2 more years of Kane and Pete Rose doing shit at WrestleMania.
It did, yeah. It did lead to a feud, and they even revived it later on during the special guest host era of Raw, where Pete Rose was a special guest host, and he had Kane duck Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame, and so I mean, it did lead some stuff. And Kane got his Big Red Machine nickname, so I mean, in the long run, it made sense. But I mean, at the time, it was a little strange. At the time,
yeah. Notably, Taker gets a quote-unquote big-time WrestleMania entrance for what it was at the time. He gets a bunch of fucking druids with torches, and we get Carl Orff's O Fortuna, which many will remember from the movie Excalibur. And that's a great fucking song. We actually played that whole gimmick in college, like the entire Carmina Burana. It's like 30 minutes. It's fucking cool. But yeah, I mean, I mark out for that entrance, still.
Yeah. I mean, primitive by WrestleMania standards today, where everybody has a fucking Hollywood blockbuster entrance, but back at this time, it was pretty great stuff.
Yeah, and of course we had the whole Kane and Undertaker storyline leading into this, with Paul Bearer originally revealing that your brother Kane is alive. Kane debuts at the Hell in a Cell and screws Taker, and then like you have months of Undertaker not wanting to fight his brother. And it finally all leads to the big WrestleMania clash.
Yeah, and as ridiculous as the story winds up being, of course, I mean, Paul Bearer was great in his role of building this feud.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean,
he was awesome.
Dude, Percy was such a great fucking talker.
He was.
And like the thing is like nobody else would have got this over. No, I mean, I love Bobby Heenan, I love Jim Cornette, I love Paul Heyman, but like you're talking like in terms of just being related to this overall story and gimmick, Paul was so good, and just
that's his ball of wax. He's all about the wrestling business and the funeral business. So this was his forte right here.
That's right. So Undertaker and Kane have a match here. The whole gimmick of this match is that Undertaker is going to win, but they're going to put Kane over as a monster.
They did.
And they both survive like various tombstones. They both kick out. They both survive. You have Kane mirroring a lot of the Undertaker's moves. And at the end, Undertaker finally puts him away with the tombstone in about 17 minutes. After the match, Kane tombstones Taker on a chair and they leave. So this shit isn't over.
No.
Basically, Undertaker's strategy here, he's doing the old Muhammad Ali, like let Kane punch himself out gimmick. He's just taking abuse the whole time and surviving. Kane eventually kind of gets tired. He overcomes. I actually really like this match. I like it more than a lot of people. I think it's actually like a really good match overall. I think the story added a lot to it. And, I mean, you fucking compare that to their WrestleMania match. That match is shit compared to this.
You mean the 20 match?
Yeah. What
20,
I say?
yeah. Just WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah, their WrestleMania 20 match, is comparatively is horrible to this one.
Yeah.
So I really like this one, and I think they did a great job of getting the Kane character over even more.
I was interested. It was a good match. I thought so as well. And it's interesting that when Kane kicked out a couple tombstones, apparently, now I don't know if had nobody kicked out a tombstone before. That's what they said. I don't know if that's. I don't remember anybody else kicking out a tombstone prior to that.
Yeah, I don't remember actually, but we'll just say it's true.
But then you compare it to nowadays, where every Undertaker match, everybody kicks out 5 tombstones.
Yeah.
But that's the modern style. I suppose it is what it is. I know, but it kind of reminds me of the style that would happen later on. You at least had to have 3 tombstones get a win in this day and age. But it helped further the story. It helped continue. I don't think they mentioned Undertaker's WrestleMania streak that much.
No, it wasn't really something they were mentioning. It didn't start getting mentioned until the Triple H feud.
And
it's
you
17.
know, and it would not have been the wrong decision to put Kane over here either.
No, it wouldn't have been. But I mean, I think it worked out because Kane.
Well, obviously it worked out for Undertaker. You got a few more WrestleManias out of it.
Yeah, but I mean, it works out well for Kane because he does come away as a monster and a formidable force against the Undertaker. So it worked out well, I thought. And again, I enjoyed the match. I really did.
It was one of the I'm gonna tell you, I think it's one of the better Undertaker Kane matches I've seen.
Yeah,
and we've seen a lot.
So,
and that feud, I don't think is that feud over now. I don't think that feud's still over.
It's hard to tell, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on whether they need pop a buy rate or whatever the Prince of Saudi Arabia wants, I suppose.
Yeah. What the Prince wants, his millions gets.
Darn right.
So we go on to our main event of the evening, the WWF Heavyweight Championship on the line. Shawn Michaels defending against Stone Cold Steve Austin. We have Mike Tyson as our special guest enforcer, but it looks like bad news for Steve Austin because he's obviously aligned with DX going into this.
He's wearing the DX t-shirt. That might have been a little bit of an issue.
That's right. So coming into this match, we know a couple things. We know that Shawn Michaels is suffering from a very, very bad back injury, suffered in the casket match with Taker.
Mm-hmm.
This is also going to be Shawn's last match for like 4 years.
Yep.
Despite the fact that he would pop in occasionally because they were hoping he'd come back, but he had some not able to perform issues, showing up intoxicated and such. So stuff never happened despite the fact that they'd bring him back occasionally.
Yeah.
And then Steve Austin is he's coming off of the various injury issues, which led to him dramatically changing his in-ring style.
Yeah, it's the neck injury.
So you have a match that a lot of people were really, really looking forward to. And a lot of people thought this would be and wanted this match to be great so badly. So they have a match, and I will say, because I know there are people that want to shit on this match, and I will disagree. I do think overall it's a very good 20-minute wrestling match. They work really hard. You can tell Shawn's struggling at times, but he guts through it. Steve Austin wins at the end with the stunner, which is what everybody wants to see.
That had to happen.
Everybody's happy. And then after the match, Shawn Michaels is all pissed at Mike Tyson. He dares to touch Iron Mike Tyson, so he gets fucking leveled.
Yep.
And then he celebrates with Stone Cold. And I think that the storyline execution here was really great. It almost made up for some of the lack of physical ability in this match. And I think overall, though, it does come off as very good to me. I really enjoyed it. It's not a great match. It's not an all-time match. It's not Austin or Michael's best Mania match by any means, obviously.
Not their best match with each other.
Very true as well. So again, it ends up really good. The story's great. Again, like you said, the right winner, the guy that had to win, won for various reasons. Not only because Shawn's about to leave, but also because Austin was the guy. He was the guy you had to pull the trigger on.
It was time for the Austin era to begin. And honestly, at this point, that's all people wanted to see. They just wanted to see Austin hit the stunner, get the 1, 2, 3. I mean, they could have done anything they wanted to prior to that, and it wouldn't have mattered to the people. I mean, you could have had a 5-star wrestling match. You could have had 52,000 kickouts or all this arm work or work rate or whatever you want. But all the people cared about was seeing the stunner and the 1, 2, 3.
And
as long as you gave them that, the people were going to be happy.
And that's exactly what they got. So we'll kind of give closing thoughts here, Steve. And first of all, it's like You look back, I remember when this show happened, people fucking loved this show.
Oh, yeah.
Calling it one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. And I'm sure at the time it felt like that to many. And I think overall, you look back on it, it has a good nostalgia feel, but it also has a very dated feel in some ways. Not everything landed, but of course, it's not a shit show. Because I know, again, there are some people that want to go to extremes. Because Austin won, it's the right call. I think Taker and Kane came off really well. Owen and Triple H was really good. And then, you got Sable over. You brought the LOD back and got a great reception, even if the match wasn't good. There's a lot of good on the show. I find it to be one that's still a recommended show to watch. And not just for the fact that it's an important show. I think there's enough enjoyment there overall. Definitely wouldn't call it a top 10 Mania or anything like that. But overall importance-wise, it's one that you have to watch that you can still find enjoyment on.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as a almost 14-year-old watching this show, I was like, oh my gosh, this is one of the best shows I've ever seen.
And I
because I was a huge Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. I'd watched Stunning Steve Austin in WCW, and I saw the potential there, and I watched him in ECW, and I watched him here. So I was a big-time Steve Austin fan going back. So honestly, as long as Austin won, I was going to be happy, and I was very, very happy. It was a great show in my book back then, and watching it, I know, and I'm sure a lot of star rating people wouldn't give out a lot of stars on the matches on this show, but I think most of them served a purpose. You're putting over LOD 2000, putting over Triple H, putting over Sable. You had the Rock being the Rock. You had the crazy dumpster stuff. The beginning of the Undertaker-Kane feud, I think, is still going on. Still not sure about that. And most importantly, you have put Stone Cold Steve Austin on top, and he is the guy. So, to me, it still delivers. I don't know where it ranks as far as WrestleMania goes, as far as work rates and star ratings and things like that. But that's still a very enjoyable show.
It is. I find it to be very enjoyable, and again, it's a very, very important show to go back and kind of see where things came out of. You saw where things went into the show, and then coming out, it's a very important and vital time for the WWF.
It's only 8 matches in under 3 hours, so yeah, imagine WrestleMania these days. Nowadays WrestleMania is 25 hours and 86 matches. So man, things have changed.
They really have. So we discussed WrestleMania 14. And I think contextually, it's very important to discuss the Raw the night after, because they're very much a 1-2 punch in what the company was trying to do. The Mike Tyson thing was a very big get for them at the time. It brought a lot of eyeballs in, a lot of media attention in. He's involved in your biggest show of the year. Austin goes over, which, as Steve said, that's what everybody wanted. And now you're starting off this is the Steve Austin era. I mean, yes, overall it's the Attitude Era, but this is the Steve Austin era of professional wrestling, Steve.
Yeah, so you can really swap out Attitude for Stone Cold era. Yeah. You really could.
And it's unfortunately an era that did not last long enough.
Not at all. I mean, and we pointed out earlier how Austin was heading into all this where he had that neck injury at SummerSlam, so I think we kind of all, maybe we all didn't know that at the time, but looking back, you can kind of realize that, Austin was only going to have so much longer to wrestle.
Yes, we were on borrowed time with old Stone Cold, so
we had to enjoy it while we could, by God.
That's right. So Monday Night Raw starts off with, they're in Albany, New York, drawing about 11,000, I believe, as a sellout. Night after WrestleMania, Vince McMahon starts off the show, arriving with a brand new WWF World Championship belt.
Also, there's no music for Vince. There's no chance in hell it doesn't come around until Royal Rumble 1999.
Yes, it's weird watching Vince come out with the no music and
just walks out with no music. Usually, with the raw music still playing in the background. Usually, is what ended up happening there.
Yeah, he introduces our new WWF champion, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Steve Austin arrives. He has his belt. He looks at Vince a couple times, swaps out belts, and drops the old one on Vince's foot.
Oh, that's great.
It's the little things between them. And this was, by the way, this new championship belt was one that Austin hated, which is why he eventually had the smoking skull belt.
I think he hit him in the head a few times during his little celebration there.
Yeah, well, because it had those little, like, jagged edges on it that would fucking, like, cut into him. And he got all fucking pissed off with it.
No, not a fan of that. And to be honest, I still think there's no better World Wrestling Federation championship than the old winged eagle, if I could spit it out. That title belt right there,
Steve,
that belt, you know what I'm talking about.
You know what? I'm going to have to go on the rant.
Okay,
It's the eagle belt. It is
eagle
not
belt.
a winged eagle. All eagles, by definition, have fucking wings. It's like saying assless chaps. Chaps are assless by definition. I'm sorry, that just always bothers me. The winged eagle. I'm like, yes, because what the fuck is it?
It's a classic belt. Come on now.
It's a fucking side dish if it doesn't have wings, okay?
You're not allowed to eat bald eagle in this country, Larry Csonka. I'm pretty sure it's against the law.
Listen, Corona's on the table. Anything's on the table, okay?
Fair enough.
I can't find a chicken. I'll shoot down a bald eagle if I fucking have to. Anyway.
Well, it might get to that point.
So Vince is there. He's trying to clarify he's actually proud of Austin for becoming the champion.
Oh, yeah.
And together with their combined skills, they can represent the company and makes Austin the greatest WWF champion of all time. Austin has no time for a fucking group effort. Nope. Vince talks about how I'm incapable of hate, Steve. You're a swell guy, and I love you. And Steve Austin's like, what? And he's like, well, I just, he's like, what did you say? It's like, it's just a figure of speech. And Austin's just like, he's basically like, fuck off. I'm going to do things how I want to do them.
He definitely milked that love part, and Austin milked that shit. Like, yeah. What did you say?
He said he's going to do things the way he wants for as long as he wants and cause more grays on Vince's head. And Vince said, he's like, listen, he goes, we should work together, and you can either do things the easy way or the hard way. Steve Austin thinks about it, says, give me about 10 seconds. Kick wham stunner, and we go off and do one of the bigger feuds in the history of the WWF.
Indeed, there's never been a better boss employee feud. Never.
That's right. So
many people have tried afterwards. Vince tried with many other people, but no, this Austin McMahon, nobody's ever come close to touching that.
No, and it's just they worked so well together, and Vince was just so good in the role.
Yeah, the chemistry was great. I mean, yeah, Vince was great in the role, but I don't think there would have been anybody better to oppose him than Stone Cold.
No, obviously not. So we have the rebranded LOD 2000 coming out with the lovely Sonny in tow, obviously, facing off with Los Boricuas. This was
Jose and Jesus.
Jose and Jesus.
I can't believe Jose Estrada was, because I've been watching a lot of primetime wrestling, you see Jose Estrada on those shows, and here he is again, 1998's Los Boricuas. I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, I can just imagine they're trying to fill that up, and they're like, we need another fucking Hispanic. And they're like, Pat Patterson pulls out the Rolodex. He's like,
yeah, WXW had signed all of them already.
He's like Jose's still working. Isn't that banana?
Yeah, WXW signed all the Mexicans, so they're kind of SOL at that point. So we got Jose Estrada.
So we get a basically an old school Road Warrior squash match, about 30 seconds. And hey, exactly what it should have been coming off the WrestleMania Battle Royal win.
There's no reason for Jose and Jesus to be getting any kind of offense on LOD. No reason for that at all. No.
That's right. So, I mean, again, exactly what it should have been. The reboot was off to a good start for these guys. Unfortunately, it didn't really last long, and it didn't go all that well. But it started correctly, Steve.
Yeah, again, like we're saying, the idea was there, and it looked good. And Sonny looked good, but also the LOD looked good too. They had the awesome helmets, they had the shoulder pads, new ring gear, it looked like a great idea.
Yeah, and like I said, they got them off to a good start with the Battle Royal win at Mania, and then you follow it up on Raw with them killing 2 geeks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. So, unfortunately, it didn't last for various reasons. Part of it being creative, and part of it being, unfortunately, Hawk.
Being Hawk, yeah, but and let's be honest, Sonny was quite the upgrade from Paul Ellering. Am I wrong?
No, you are correct, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I know Paul can cut a nice little promo. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's a good talker. What is Paul up to these days? Is he still hanging around Performance Center?
I don't think so.
Because
I never hear anything about him, despite the fact that all we heard was after they brought up AOP was that he was still going to be involved with the company and maybe manage someone else. And
yeah, how's that going? What about Rachel? Didn't Rachel get an injury or something?
She suffered a knee injury. I think she had a torn ACL.
Ugh. Yeah, that's a shame.
Which is like when we talk Wednesday nights about how deep the NXT women's division is, we talk about women that aren't even on TV, and then like Rachel Ellering and Karen Me are both out injured. It's crazy how many women they have on that roster that are really good that aren't even on TV or even working because they're injured. So
yeah, and then we want to knock the other companies for not having a good women's division, but WWE has everybody signed.
I mean, pretty much.
It is what it is, I mean, Kevin Kelly, by the way, speaking of New Japan Pro Wrestling talent, I don't think we were, but here he is.
That's right. Wait, Kevin Kelly is in the building, and it's always funny to look back. And if you would have said to somebody in 1998 that this Kevin Kelly character is going to be regarded as the best wrestling commentator in 2020, yeah, nobody's buying that.
You gotta give him credit too, because I know a lot of people. We'll talk about how Terry Taylor's career was ruined by being the Red Rooster, right? That's what people say.
Yeah.
But for God's sakes, Kevin Kelly stood out there for several years,
being called a hermaphrodite by The Rock.
And The Rock, yeah, he's a hermaphrodite. The Rock called him Hermie, and he survived. He's okay. He's doing stuff. Nobody's calling him Hermie now, right?
No. He survived despite all they did. I mean,
yeah, they're not calling Kevin Kelly Hermie. I mean, you might still call Terry Taylor a rooster. I don't know, but he survived it. He's good.
I'd laugh if like the kids at the Performance Center were like when they'd see him like, Rooster, what's up?
They might. The old network footage. I'm telling you, I'm working through that Red Rooster angle right now. Jesus Christ.
Oh, jeez.
And he leans more into being a Red Rooster after leaving Bobby Heenan. Like what? What's
that makes sense.
I know Bruce Pritchard wants to tell us, he is the cock of the walk. But no.
Yeah, Bruce Pritchard's a cock, all right. So, yeah.
He is a cock. That's a fair point.
So next up we had Kurgan with the Jackal facing off with Chains from the Disciples of Apocalypse.
Also known as Primetime Brian Lee.
That's right.
Go ahead and drop that name. Also known as Fake Undertaker.
That's right. Very good.
Yeah. Lots of stuff. Lots of stuff with old Chains there. But Kurgan, and the Jackal, of course, Don Callis, another one of our top announcers these days and age.
He's an announcer.
He's a hermaphrodite, is that what you said?
He's an announcer, but I wouldn't call him top.
Would you call him a hermaphrodite?
No, I'll be nice to Don.
Don, he's not the worst person we've ever met. It's all right. This was a match, by the way. Yeah.
It was a match that managed to kill the crowd that was really hot.
Kurgan looked like a badass pro wrestler. He looked like a badass, but
and Don Callis could obviously fucking talk. He'd been great in that role, but it's just they hated Don Callis.
They hated Don Callis, and Kurgan was not any good in a ring. So.
He was the absolute shit. He really was. He was at least mildly fun when he became one of the oddities.
Yeah, hanging out with Giant Sullivan and all those guys. It was fine.
Danced around like a goof, and then you had Golga with his Cartman doll.
Golga, another one of the John Tenta personalities.
That's right. Yes, it went 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and it was actually really bad.
It felt a lot longer. It felt a lot longer, and Kurgan gets to win with the Paralyzer, his claw. And the thing I was going to ask you about Larry Csonka. So, Kurgan does this claw gimmick, and he wins the match. And Jackal's yelling about how it's all his fault at Jim Ross for some reason. And Kurgan just keeps the claw on. And he decided to carry Chains / Primetime Brian Lee to the back while still having the claw on him. And I was just kind of wondering, last night we saw Ken Shamrock disqualified for something like this. Why wasn't the Kurgan disqualified for this?
You know why? Vince McMahon was obviously too busy in the back calling the police on Steve Austin.
Huh, okay.
That's my best guess.
Yeah.
So then talking about reboots and various iterations of characters,
Yes.
Tennessee Lee, Colonel Rob Parker, introduces Jeff Jarrett's new old gimmick.
Hold on. That's JFF. Ha ha ha. JRR. ETT.
Double J. Jeff Jarrett.
That's right.
He's riding out in his electrified gear.
Holy
he cowboy on a fucking horse.
He was on a fucking horse.
I'll put it this way, he's no Hangman Adam Page.
No, he's not. No, absolutely not. But, man.
Speaking of which, did you see the Hangman Adam Page thing he sent out to the public in regards to the coronavirus?
Oh, yes, sir. I'm telling you, Hangman Page is an absolute rock star right now.
Yes, he was.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, so this is bad. This is Jarrett relaunch like 300 between WWF and WCW over the years.
Definitely not Hangman Page stuff here. This is Jeff Jarrett relaunched again. Yeah.
This is not cowboy shit, and he's facing off with Mr. Aguila, who was one half of the light heavyweight championship bout at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And Jeff Jarrett fucking kills him in 2 minutes.
Yeah, he did.
Basically, we're supposed to remember that the last few months of whatever Jeff Jarrett was supposed to be never happened. And then they're also, at the same time, telling you that the light heavyweights don't matter.
No, they don't. Not at this point. And Jeff Jarrett, and I'm trying to remember, he was part of the whole NWA gimmick, right?
At one point, yes.
I remember when he first came back and did one of the shoot interviews, which everybody does a shoot interview in 1997, 98. And that's what they do now. They do the shoot interview, try to get themselves over. And, we wound up with Double J on a horse. Yeah. The less said, the better. We had Steve Blackman come out afterwards to build that feud.
Yeah, so...
You remember Steve Blackman, Jeff Jarrett feud? How come Steve Blackman there came back to TNA to continue that?
I don't know. That would have been nice.
I would have preferred Steve Blackman over a lot of the Jeff Jarrett challenges we saw.
I'm still disappointed we never got that Steve Blackman Bounty Hunter show they were shopping around.
Seriously? Oh, that'd be.
I would have been all in on that, dude. That's like wrestling's version of Dog the Bounty Hunter, man. I was in.
By the way, while we're speaking on Steve Blackman real quick, I just want to point out that I had a Steve Blackman action figure back in the day, and it was weird because he was wearing this gi that he had. The gi had like a tiger on the back of it, and I never remembered Steve Blackman having a gi with a tiger on the back of it. But later on this show, he's wearing it. So I'm like, oh, okay, that explains that.
And do you realize? Because I know a lot of people don't realize and remember this. Steve Blackman actually had a fucking 5-year run in WWF. 97 to 2002.
Do you remember before that? He was supposed to sign with them back in is either late 80s or early 90s. He was in South Africa or somewhere in Africa. He caught malaria.
Yeah.
And he was out of action for a long time. And eventually, credit to Vince McMahon, I guess. Once he's ready to go in 97, they brought him on board.
That's right.
So it's a weird career for Steve Blackman.
So Steve Austin is getting arrested, and
this happened a lot during this time period.
That's right.
He got arrested a lot. I don't know how he. That's looked down his record, right? All these wrestling shows.
That led to one of those random Monday Night War segments where Vince or Bischoff would come out to the ring for approximately 10 seconds for no real reason. To essentially say one line and drop the mic.
Yeah.
And that's what Vince did. He just came out and said, I had to have him arrested. I had no choice. Mic drop, and then he struts out.
Well, that was to establish that Vince McMahon was not a good person.
That's right. He is the boss. So we go to tag team action next, Steve.
Yeah.
It is Farouk and The Rock battling Ken Shamrock and the previously mentioned Steve Blackman. And The Rock is all fired up. He wants to start
Hold on a
this
second.
match.
I have a question first. I have a couple questions. For one thing, I'm not sure about this Farouk and Rock tag team. And for another thing, wasn't Steve Blackman teaming up with Flash Funk?
Well, things changed. It's the night after WrestleMania, dude. You got to relaunch things, reboot.
Dave, you tell me things changed?
Plans changed,
Plans
brother.
changed. That's right.
So,
although Shamrock and Blackman, pretty badass team.
That's right.
I like it.
But you got The Rock. He's all fucking fired up early on. He wants to start with Ken Shamrock. He gets in there. They kind of dance around. Then he turns around and tags out to Farouk.
Well, Farouk was the healthy man in the match.
That's right. He was talking about his ankle and hamstring were bothering him. So they have a match.
It was only in that crappy ass battle royal, so he should be fine.
Yeah. So they have a match here. It's about 4 minutes long. Farouk is doing okay until he needs the tag. And he goes to make the tag, and The Rock is all ready and fired up, and then he starts pulling his hand upward. And he's like, come on, stand up, you jabroni.
Jerry Lawler was saying, Farouk needs to stand up to make the tag. That's right.
So The Rock drops down. He gives him the old alligator arms. And then Farouk ends up losing this match. Post-match, he is
You'll
pissed
belly the belly shades of Magnum TA.
That's right. So he's obviously pissed off after the match and said he has had enough of The Rock's bullshit. He calls him down to the ring for an ass whooping. The nation is befuddled by all this. They don't know what's going on. The Rock shows up. They have a short brawl. They get pulled apart. Farouk once more. And then The Rock dropped the hammer because he raised the eyebrow.
Yeah.
And the Nation of Domination turned on Farouk. They beat him back, and The Rock closes by saying, go back to Tahiti or wherever you came from.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta tell you, though, I have to point out, as much as I love the Nation, as much as I love Kama and D'Lo, Mark Henry, that is one of the weaker three-person beatdowns I've ever seen.
It was no horseman beatdown for sure.
No, it didn't look too good. It looked pretty awkward, let's be honest. But at least Rock came back in to hit the old rock bottom and told him to go back to Tahiti. I don't know what the hell that was, but good stuff there. And The Rock now established as the ruler of the Nation of Domination.
That's right. And, coming out of this, too, we would also see the Nation of Domination members starting to get actual characters other than big black dudes.
Yeah, which is great.
That's what I mean.
It's great.
Because Kama was the Supreme Fighting Machine at one point, but then he was just Kama Mustafa.
Yeah.
D'Lo was the former accountant dude. He was just
he was
D'Lo
just
Brown.
kind of a guy in a suit. Yeah.
And Mark Henry was just Mark Henry, former Olympic dude. So there was no actual really defined characterization with any of them. And of course, D'Lo became the chest protector, head swiveling dude. You had Mark Henry becoming sexual chocolate, and then we got the Godfather.
Yes. Pimpin' ain't easy.
And of course, we can't forget the blackest brother of them all down the line, Owen Hart, joining the Nation.
That's right. Well, it wasn't a race thing, is what we learned later on. It wasn't not a race thing. Owen was a full-blown road sign at that point.
I always wanted them to do a play off of the Steve Martin movie, The Jerk, with Owen Hart doing a video package with him walking into the locker room I was born a poor black child. Yeah. To explain his introduction into the Nation. But obviously a big turning point for The Rock is he dismisses Farouk. He is going to be focused on more as the ruler of the leader of the nation. Yes. And all that. So it's, again, we talk about The Rock continuing to grow and everything, and it's a very important thing. And talking about turning points in the show over these two shows and the Monday Night War kind of in general. Mm-hmm. Good old Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley is out. It's promo time, and I gotta tell you, Steve, I think the Mandela effect hit me because I was almost positive that there was a tank involved here, like all DX things.
No, not quite yet. There wasn't a tank there just yet, but they were talking about how there could be a rift in D-Generation X. That's what the word was heading into us. There's some speculation about a rift.
And Triple H explained it. He said Shawn Michaels dropped the ball on Mike Tyson. He kept asking if Mike was in 100%, and obviously he wasn't.
Yeah.
So tonight was going to be a brand new D-Generation X led by him. Obviously, Chyna's at his side. And he has a new recruit. And this is when they introduced the returning Sean Waltman.
Yes.
Fresh off of his WCW firing.
Look who's back. Oh,
Yeah,
man,
Jim
it's
Ross.
exciting.
Jim Ross sounded absolutely disgusted. Look who's back. He's like, you know, and obviously
I got rid of this guy. What the hell?
And obviously Waltman looks very different from his 1, 2, 3 Kid days that a lot of fans probably saw him in WWF last as.
Yeah.
He has the long hair, he got the beard, and he's just...
Well, let's be honest, a lot of these fans knew who Six was.
Yeah. So, and he comes out, and as Steve joked on earlier, the shoot promo era of the Attitude Era.
Yes.
Sean Waltman comes out. They talked about, Triple H called him an indentured servant for the last 2 years. Sean Waltman, totally bitter asshole, is well deserved against Hogan and Bischoff here.
Absolutely, well deserved here.
Yes. He claims that Scott Hall and Kevin Nash would be right there with them if they weren't being held hostage by WCW.
That's right. We can't. We have to point out how Hulk Hogan came out on television and said that Six there couldn't cut the mustard. Well, Hulk Hogan, you suck, pal.
That's right.
He's not wrong. And then, he talked about how if Hulk Hogan backed up that Eric Bischoff's nose goes straight up his ass and, if he had for breakfast. And JR responds with, well, he's telling the truth so far.
I know. you gotta love little lines like that are like perfectly placed and make sense. So this is the start of the reformed D-Generation X.
Yes.
Triple H, Chyna, and the Kid. Is JR kept calling him throughout because I guess they weren't quite sure what they were going to call him.
No, I'm sure they hadn't decided quite yet what they were going to call him. So they go with the Kid, not the 1, 2, 3 Kid.
Yeah. So that was one of the big angles on this show, obviously, besides Austin stunning McMahon, and there was still more to come. We got a coming soon, and use your own jokes here, Val Venus video package.
That's right. Yes. How does Val keep popping up on these retro shows we do? Is what I'm wondering.
It's amazing, but he's kind of always there somehow. That led to Mark Marrow versus Taka Michinoku in an obviously not title match because Mark Marrow is not 205.
Mark is a little bit over the cruiserweight limit at this point. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's 205 or not, but whatever it was, he was over it.
Yeah, and that was, Mark. I mean, Mark was still, in good shape, but that was a dude that, when he blew out his knee, he definitely put on the weight.
Yeah.
Again, he's far from fat, but yeah. And that's why he turned to the boxer gimmick. But before the match started, Luna Vachon came out and challenged Sable to an evening gown match at Unforgiven. And then made sure to...
promo from Sable, too. From Luna here
and
as
then
well.
made sure to call her a slut and a bitch because it's the Attitude Era.
Absolutely. People were into it, I'll tell you that. I gotta tell you, Jerry Lawler was not quite sure he wanted to win that match.
So, Taka Michinoku then loses in 1 minute and 40 seconds.
Yeah.
Light heavyweight champion going down. Both guys in the light heavyweight championship match the night before WrestleMania. Jobbing in under 2 minutes.
I'll say this. At least Mero did a low blow. Mero had to cheat to beat the light heavyweight champion. So, I'll give him credit for that.
But that we weren't done, Steve, because, as Jim Ross would say it, 3 mystery Oriental men arrived. And they beat the shit out of Taka. We saw a big senton from young Dick Togo, and that was the debut of Kaientai.
That's right. Dick Togo and Sho Funaki, and who else was there? Help me out here.
Oh, Christ. Now I'm trying to remember. I was hoping you wouldn't ask me the names because I couldn't remember offhand. I'll look it up real quick here.
I remember those too, but I was just going to kind of defend because...
Men's Teo? Yeah.
Oh, Men's Teo, yes, of course. Okay. Oh, how can I forget Men's Teo? But,
actually, it was... that was not Sho Funaki at first. That was Shiryu, Dick Togo, and Men's Tejo were the initial... iteration. So
Okay, well that makes sense because I did not recognize Funaki out there. I recognized Dick Togo. I did not recognize Funaki. So okay, so where's Funaki? He didn't pop it till later.
yeah. By the way, that was Kaz Hayashi as Shiryu or whatever the fuck he's saying.
Oh, okay, all right.
So, but yeah, so that was the big Kai and Tai debut.
Yeah, the thing is that's why I'm gonna defend using Taka as a jobber here because, I mean, even though you're jobbing out the light heavyweight champion. You gave him the out with Mero hitting the low blow and cheating to beat the guy. And then you have these three guys come out to beat him up to start another angle. So at least it serves some kind of purpose.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not a big Kai and Tai fan, are you?
No, I like Kai and Tai, and I get the whole idea behind it, but I don't think jobbing your champion in under 2 minutes works in any way.
Nah, it was the WWF light heavyweight title, though. I mean, let's be honest.
I don't care. I think it's shitty to do that.
It led to something. That's all I'm. That's all I'm saying.
It led to Choppy your PP and Mr. Yamaguchi.
It also, but you also put Sable over earlier, which was important to keep that going. So
you did, but again, I don't think it did a lot for Taka. I mean, at least
no, it didn't.
A little more competitive would have been. I think he could have given them a little more and still done the same finish and then done the attack. And
it did lead to choppy your PP though, which we agree is very important. And they had Val Venus premiere too, right before Taka was showing the ring. So it might have been a little foreshadowing there, as a matter of fact.
There you go.
That's right, foreshadowing, which people do not do in this day and age. But back in 1990 WWF, we did, by God.
So next
they probably didn't. Let's be honest. I'm giving too much credit, probably.
Next up, we had the NWA World Tag Team Championship match. And you're not going to believe this, but the Headbangers were the champions.
Yeah, I was wondering when that happened. I'm sure
they had beat the Rock and Roll Express previously, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So they were defending against the new Midnight Express, Bodacious Bob, and fucking...
Bombastic
Bart, thank you, yeah.
I can remember which one is Bodacious and Bombastic. I can never keep that straight.
So, and of course you have Jim Cornette out there. They have a 4-minute tag team match. And Hold
on. We have to point out that before the match starts, Jim Cornette is kind of rambling in the ring. We don't really hear him. But eventually, he introduces Dan the Beast Severn. And Dan the Beast Severn comes out looking like Freddie Mercury in a suit.
Looking like jacked Freddie Mercury wearing his father's suit.
Yeah, pretty much. But
ill-fitting suit. Yes, the former Ultimate Fighting Champion and NWA Champion of the world, Dan Severn.
You know, because you're an NWA champion, you have to wear suits. I just wish that Dan Severn gone shopping with Nick Aldis, is what I'm saying.
I don't think
Nick Aldis knows how to shop.
I don't think Dan Severn was prepared to spend that kind of money on a suit.
Nick Aldis knows how to shop and how to wear clothing. I'm just saying that he could have, Dan Severn could use a little lesson from that guy. That's what I'm saying.
He could have. So we have new tag team champions as the new Midnight Express hit the rocket launcher at 4 minutes to win the titles.
Oh, yeah, and then, the rocket launcher. Jesus Christ.
And then post-match, Dan Severn kicked the shit out of the Headbangers because...
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He beat up those men. They're trying to build a feud with Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn, which, let's be honest, and I did not know this at the time, but going back, nowadays I know that if you had seen Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn fight, you would not want to see that match again.
Yeah, you
would not want to see that. That's not drawing in any new fans because any UFC fans hearing about that is like, we're good, we're all right. Well, they'd see that. Because they had a 30-minute stinker?
Something like that. It was horrible.
Brutal.
Yeah.
One of the worst UFC matches of all time.
Looked like two teenagers dry fucking on a couch.
Yeah, nobody was tuning in to see that stuff. I mean, you might be able to trick these wrestling fans into thinking, well, Dan Severn's a badass and Ken Shamrock's a badass. But anybody that knew better would have been like, no, that's not going to work. Those two guys have no chemistry at all whatsoever. I don't think they met. I don't think they even had a match. Did they have a match at WWF? I'm not sure they did.
I don't remember.
I don't think they ever did it.
I was hoping for the Lions Den.
Yeah, well, that was Ken Shamrock and Owen Hart was the Lions Den.
Well, I think they did another too with Blackman.
They did
it more than once.
Well, I remember the match they had the Circle of Cars with Shamrock and Blackman.
Yeah.
What the hell is that called?
I don't know, but I mean,
whatever it was a fantastic piece of
didn't
business.
they do like Owen and fucking Shamrock in the dungeon as well?
Yes, they did.
That's
They
right.
had Owen and Dan Severn was the referee for that piece of business too. So it was just a lot of good stuff happened in 1998, folks. And,
A lot of stuff.
a lot of stuff happened, and the end. Let's be honest. Was this the last time the NWA Tag Team Championship appeared on WWF television? I assume it was.
I think so, but I don't remember offhand. But it was.
It didn't. No, they're being phased out by this point already.
It was an interesting time. That is. For
Jeff
sure.
Jarrett got he got divorced from the group, and they're head on their way out the door.
So this leads to Paul Bearer and Kane arriving to kill time.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
What am I forgetting?
We're skipping over Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, Steve Austin using his one phone call to call Jim Ross.
Phone call to call Jim Ross. That's right.
Live on the air at that.
Fantastic.
You are correct.
He used one phone call to call Jim Ross, and he lets know that Vince McMahon's ass will belong to Stone Cold Steve Austin next week on Raw. Yes.
And it's one of those things that like very few could pull that off, but Steve Austin calling from jail works.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice build for next week when Stone Cold comes back.
And so we have Kane and Paul Bearer now killing time, challenging The Undertaker to an Inferno match at Unforgiven.
Yeah. We're killing time, by the way, because this is back in the day before steel cages raised or lowered from a ceiling.
That's right.
Nowadays, all these steel cages, they're already built. They're already up on the ceiling before a show starts.
And they get their own entrance.
They get their own entrance. They get lowered down. No, back in this day, the WWF had a big blue cage. But it's like, there's a bunch of bars and whatnot, and they had to drag it out from backstage and put it up. So they had to kill some time while they're putting it up.
And then, like, kind of the worst part of it is they drag this cage out for a 4-minute match.
It wasn't even done when they Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie came out. They're still working on it. It's crazy. But do you miss the big blue cage?
No.
No, yeah, me neither.
I was never a big blue cage fan because I was more of an NWA fan growing up, so I was used to cages that looked like real chain. And
I used to be a little nostalgic for it, but then when I would go back and watch things, I was like, it's
the thing
right.
is there's not a ton of classic big blue bar cage matches. Like I love the Owen Bret Hart
Owen.
one.
I think Bret Owen might be it.
Yeah.
And Hogan and Orndorff on the Saturday Night's Main Event is pretty good too.
Yeah, that's pretty good, and it's very interesting because of the angle and everything. But it's like, there's not exactly a lot of classics in that one for me. And again, if you disagree, that's cool. But I am not on Team Big Blue Cage. It's fine for its time, but
The Inferno match. Are you a fan of the Inferno match?
No, those generally sucked as well.
The visual is pretty cool, though. I'll give them that. The visual
was cool as hell, but it generally sucks. So
I would hate to be at ringside for one of those too. It'd get pretty hot.
But this was the Tag Team Championship match. The New Age Outlaws rematching Cactus Jack and Terry Funk after the dumpster match where
We should point out that the Road Dogg is wearing a Job Squad t-shirt.
Yes, and Billy Gunn was wearing a Kenny from South Park shirt.
Yes. New Age Outlaws were pretty good in their t-shirt paraphernalia.
Yeah, and as Road Dogg was doing his entrance, he said, "You might think from last night that we were a member of the squad," and he pointed to the shirt. So.
And at this time, Al Snow was in the ECW at this point.
That's right.
Yeah, doing the Job Squad gimmick and whatnot. So it was a pretty cool thing. A little shout out to their good friend. I know Mick Foley and Al Snow. Do you think Mick Foley and Al Snow are still good friends? What do you think about that?
Probably not.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I mean, I think Mick got upset when he was sent that Best of Al Snow DVD and it was blank, so.
Yeah, probably so, but...
he had an afternoon set aside and then popped it in and was like, what?
Yeah, but let's be honest. This match here was just kind of window dressing for the eventual angle. And let's be honest, Terry Funk had a very badly bruised kidney and he shouldn't have been in the ring, let's be honest. So they smartly handcuffed him to the cage pretty early on. So it's mostly Cactus Jack versus two guys.
Yeah, and it comes off as a great angle because they handcuff him to the cage. They're beating the shit out of McFoley. McFoley tries to make his comeback. He's actually doing really well. until Triple H, China, and the Kid run out. The
Yeah.
Kid lays into him with some chair shots to the fucking dome as he's on top of the cage, leading to a spiked pile driver from the New Age Outlaws. That is it. We officially have our champions again. D-Generation X 2.0, if you want to call it that, is officially launched, and should be no surprise because leading into Mania on and off, the New Age Outlaws were lightly associated with D-Generation X.
Yeah.
And it was something that people kind of always wanted anyway.
Yeah, they would gang up for some angles, and New Age Outlaws would do some stuff, and Hunter and Sean would kind of applaud them, like, "Yeah, buddy." And yeah, we all kind of figured heading into it. If you're watching the shows, you kind of figured, yeah, those guys, they're together, and it'll be made official at some point. And sure enough, with Road Dogg and Badass being part of the new DX Army, it made perfect sense.
So you have the big angle there. You have DX set and locked in its new version. You have Stone Cold and Vince off and running. And it's, again, much like WrestleMania, I find it to be, it's not a great show, but it's a very interesting and important show. It's a momentum-swinging show, and this was really the time where WWF really took the lead and didn't look back.
We should point out real quick, another angle that came out of this match with Cactus Jack, Terry Funk getting beaten up and whatnot, and
I was going there. I was hoping you'd want to talk about it.
Yeah, so we want to talk about this because Mick Foley talks about in his book where they're being tended to and whatnot, and sure enough, the ring announcer chimes in after they've gone off the air. Don't worry, folks, stick around. We got a big old dark match coming, however, and coming up next will be Stone Cold Steve Austin. And the fans go batshit crazy because Steve Austin was their guy. He was everybody's guy at this point, and they just go crazy. And, and Cactus felt a little offended because he was getting tended to. He got the shit beat out of him, and the fans didn't care. They were chanting for Stone Cold instead, and that led to a lot of stuff with Mick Foley.
That led to the Foley heel turn, the big Raw match with Terry Funk at one point, him joining Vince McMahon, Dude Love, just all kind of shit coming out, dude. It's so cool when you think of everything that came out of the show. It's good.
How come you don't hear about this stuff nowadays? You never hear any stories like this now. Never anything remotely close to it.
Because they're busy making moments, man.
Nobody cares. Yeah, I mean, you never see any lower card. How come you never see any lower card guys getting beaten up and then getting pissed off because people cheer for Roman Reigns or something? You never hear that. It never happens. Because nobody cares.
But like I said, it's a very important 2-day stretch for the WWF at the time. Again, they don't necessarily feel like great shows, but they're extremely important that a lot of things came out of. And like I said, the other thing is this is where the WWF just kind of took the lead. And you might be wondering, what did WCW Monday Nitro counter with that very night? High Voltage versus Mike Enos and Wayne Bloom in a no contest. Perry Saturn defeating Fit Finlay. Chris Jericho defeating Marty Jannetty to retain the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. Prince Iaukea defeating Glacier. Juventud Guerrera defeating El Dandy. Buff Bagwell and Raven going to a no contest. Kidman defeating Disco Inferno. Jim Neidhart defeating Kurt Hennig by disqualification. Booker T and Chris Benoit going to a time limit draw for the TV title. I'll admit that actually sounds good.
Probably the best of 7, actually. Yeah, that wouldn't be too bad.
Psychosis and Ultimo Dragon going to a fucking no contest. Bill Goldberg defeating Ray Traylor. Kevin Nash and Randy Savage defeating Lex Luger and Sting, which that may have been okay at least.
Yeah, that probably would have been fine.
And Roddy Piper defeating Hollywood Hogan by disqualification in the main event.
Yeah, I want to say that I think WCW still had the edge as far as ratings go. I want to say, and I'm probably wrong on this, I think the night that WWF took the lead was a couple weeks later on when they booked the whole Austin versus McMahon match. I think that's when they took the lead. I think. I could be wrong.
Well, generally speaking, though, it is around that time that it all happened, and the tide turned. You had the Mike Tyson thing, you had the Austin era beginning, and it's a big deal, man. So again, if you look back contextually, it's very historic and stuff that if you haven't watched or have kind of poo-pooed for some reason, it's worth going back to watch to see the important things that were done here. And it led to a big time for the company. Because I said they eventually throughout this is the time where they start, and it's either this night or, as Steve said, in a couple weeks when they do Austin and McMahon, it's right around this time where it fully swings for the last time. WCW never comes back. It eventually leads to them.
They go back and forth for a little bit, I think, but it eventually goes to WFL away. Yeah,
and it's just like they eventually start doing so many hotshot, stupid things, and that company goes out of business, obviously. And it's crazy when you think about it. So, a really fun time to look back on, Steve, and a lot done in 2 nights.
Absolutely, a lot done in 2 nights, and it's kind of amazing to sit back and watch a show like this. And I think the reason I kind of prefer these type of shows to what we see nowadays is, mostly with like Raw and SmackDown and stuff like that, even NXT to a degree, they have a lot of great matches. I would say that, in this day and age, probably the worst match on a given Raw or SmackDown would be better than anything on one of these shows. Let's be honest, right? Yeah.
Not
as
the
far
worst
as like
match,
in-ring work rate goes, pretty close. I'd probably pretty close, but the stories told on these shows, today's shows don't match it as far as like Raw and SmackDown. And I would even say NXT. I as much as we love NXT from time to time, I think their storytelling is.
It's been really cold the last few weeks.
It's not really on par with the stuff. To be honest with you, to me, and I'm even defending stuff where, like, Taka Michinoku gets jobbed out, but it's leading to something. And it feels like a lot of times, even on NXT, where you get people jobbed out, it doesn't lead to anything. Like Ricochet getting jobbed out could lead to something, but it doesn't feel like it is.
I have no faith that it will. In theory, it might, but, fucking Cedric Alexander losing all those matches was supposed to lead to something, too.
Cedric Alexander's more over the AEW audience. That's all I can tell you about that. But yeah, exactly. It's just one of those things where, you have the great work rates, and I'm not sure, I think this generation of wrestler, they grew up, they watched the great matches, they wanted to have the great matches, but I think they kind of skipped over the parts where they're supposed to interact with the public and make people care.
Yeah, and it's the other thing too is you look at certain things, and it's not like everybody in the world of wrestling is failing with this.
No,
because New Japan does tell really, really good stories, and AEW has been. We talked about like the Cody and MJF stuff was really great. Yeah. The Cody Jericho stuff was great.
And I think they're on a pretty good stretch right now. I think.
Yeah. So it's not that nobody's trying is the other thing, too. And I'm not necessarily saying that WWE isn't trying at this stage, but it's not clicking or coming off nearly like it did back in 1998, for example, as we're talking about. And I will agree with Steve. It's like, yeah, you look at just baseline wrestling. Baseline wrestling will kill the Attitude Era, no doubt, comparative to today. But again, it's great to have great wrestling, and I love great wrestling. But sometimes you need those stories to take it over into a memorable show.
You need somebody to care about.
Yeah. Like I know a lot of people like that really enjoyed like the Revolution pay-per-view, for example. They really enjoyed it because the big payoff at the end was Jon Moxley winning the title and revealing that he had been fooling Chris Jericho this whole time and that his eye wasn't fully injured.
Damn right. It's very similar to how WrestleMania 14. We just wanted to see Steve Austin win.
Exactly.
We didn't care. It's not like, in WWE, how many times have they tried to crown Roman Reigns without really crowning him? They don't want to give us that big payoff. Sometimes you just need to give that big payoff, I think. So as far as I can tell.
Yeah, so it's That's going to kind of wrap us up, though. WrestleMania 14, the Raw the night after. A very important time in WWE history for various reasons. Again, the rise of Austin.
Yeah, turn the tide.
Just DX with the new formation with Shawn Michaels leaving as a wrestler for 4 years, but popping in occasionally, but it never really led to anything due to Shawn's issues. But again, while Shawn was gone, he did, even though he wasn't a huge part of it, he did start the wrestling school. Rudy Boy Gonzalez did most of the training, but you go back to the likes of Brian Kendrick and Daniel Bryan and other people that worked out of that school and got into wrestling. So, Shawn didn't have, Lance Cade and others.
Yeah.
He had an effect, and there's nothing trippier than watching the MFW show from Japan with Shawn Michaels as a special guest referee because he wanted to get his boys on the undercard and get a payday.
That's pretty dedicated right there. You gotta give him credit for that. Pretty dedicated. Was he working with Onita? Was Onita there for that?
I don't remember. I have the show actually on VHS.
Onita versus Shawn Michaels would have been quite the match.
No, he was the special guest referee. I think it was for when they did the Hayabusa versus H2 exploding ass match, where they did the bottle rocket up Hayabusa's ass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, totally not joking, by the way.
Yeah, well, yeah, we believe it. But talk about two masters of motion. It would be Mr. Onita and Mr. Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels in an exploding death match with Onita. That'd be fantastic.
Yes, it would. So, no doubt about it.
But that kind of wraps us up for this, Steve. And that's, I don't know, anything else you want to drop about this that you think you need to say, or are you good?
Well, I'm just, I was thinking about Terry Funk, actually. And Terry Funk, at this point, I believe they're hyped on commentary, was 53 years old. I believe they said it's 53, which I believe, isn't Bill Goldberg 53 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is Bill Goldberg going to go out there with a bruised kidney like that? Like
No.
Chainsaw Charlie / Terry Funk had?
Fuck no.
Wait a good lord. How badass is Terry Funk? And,
All right, welcome back to the next segment of the show, and making his return to the podcast, BackBodyDrop.com's Ian Hamilton. Ian, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, not too bad, Larry, all things considered. It's a massively different world to 2 weeks ago when I was over in Germany, but yeah, times change.
That's right, things do drastically change, and that is why you were actually on the show, because you were in Germany. You were at wXw 16 Carat Gold, which is kind of the last big-scale event with fans in attendance that we're going to see for a while, it looks like.
Yeah, so I mean, bit backdrop, it was what, we taped this on a Thursday 2 weeks ago. The weekend started with a show called Inner Circle at the WXW Academy from about 150, 170 fans. And it was before, I mean, we flew out the day before, and even then there was maybe not speculation, but a few bits of rumours that, maybe they're going to cancel a show, maybe they're going to put a limit on. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. But on night 3, so this was Sunday night, they'd announced, there was talk that the German local government in, and I'm going to butcher the name like Will Kuhn, but Nordrhein-Westphalia, I think it is, the region where Oberhausen is, they were talking about putting a ban on events of fans greater than 1,000. And wouldn't you know it, the crowd that day was about 1,300. So, yeah, WXW dodged an almighty bullet having these, 6-7 shows over the weekend in front of 4,000 plus combined fans. Because obviously a week later, OTT were meant to have their Scrapomania in Dublin. They both got cancelled, and what a difference a week makes.
And that is the crazy thing, because like you said, they got in just under the wire, and Carat is kind of their big weekend every year, and that would have been obviously horrible if everything would have got canceled for them, but luckily they got these shows in. They are now available online for you to watch, and Ian, just how many times have you gone to Carat overall, and what is your general experience with it, man? Tell everybody about it.
So this will be my third time going over for 16 Carat Gold. Actually, when we get into Dusseldorf Airport, worked out my mind. So this 3 times I've done 16 Carat Gold. I think there's another 3 times I've been over for the World Tag League / World Tag Festival. That's their fall tournament. Plus been over 2 more shows. So this is my 8th trip to Germany, most in Oberhausen for WXW. And yeah, 16 Karat Gold. Like I said, I first started going in 2018. That's the year Ilya Dragunov made his return to WXW, and the videos on YouTube, it's the one return which just blew the roof off the place. He'd done the, I don't want to say fake retirement, but it kind of was like a farewell that really wasn't. And yeah, we did that in 2018 at the the venue WXW runs in Germany is called in Oberhausen is called the Turbine Hall, which is by the name, it's the former electric turbine hall. It's been converted to like a nightclub, music venue, and there's 2 big halls in there. So the vast majority of WXW's events were on the smaller Turbine Hall 2. Last year and this year, Carat win the much larger Turbine Hall 1. And last year they had, I don't want to say teething troubles. They've run that venue before, but it's the first time they've run that particular room with, I think last year they had 1,500 fans in on night 2. And there was a fair few complaints about how it was just one big flat floor, maybe a few standing, raised standing areas, and a lot of people were caught out. This year, and I've got to take my hat off to Dennis Birkendahl, WXW's artistic director. Kasia Pills runs all of WXW's video stuff. They completely knocked it out of the park with just the presentation. I mean, you've seen the show for yourself, Larry.
Yes.
The presentation of this beats any independent promotion of the water. Now, dare say, TNA, Ring of Honor, MLW, the production on show for this, you had obviously video screens. There's another video wall that was facing away from the stage, so you weren't getting the wacky head shrinkers camera effect. But pretty much everyone in that room was able to get some view of the ring. And like I say, the production values for this particular show blew pretty much everything out of the water from everything apart from, dare I say, WWE and New Japan to some degree.
And I agree with that. The production was, it was almost shocking how good it was when I popped it on, because I wasn't quite expecting it to look that good. But as you said, the venue looked great. The video on demand stuff is quite honestly beautiful, really. It's really great. You do not feel like you're watching a quote-unquote independent promotion. It is a joy to watch. So for anybody that likes to pull that, well, I don't like watching low-quality crap, you have no excuse, let me tell you there.
Yeah, I know it's an easy dig. I mean, Ref Pro, that Will Ospreay Zack Sabre Jr. match got a lot of criticism for. Dare I say, the comparison was filmed on a potato is the the dig people take. And I don't know this for sure, but I know other podcasts were making this kind of comparison with Rev Pro. Spend less money on your imports and spend it on production. And I know over the turn of the year, WXW have spent a lot of money on new cameras. Like if you go back through their archives, they were literally filming the shows as recently as last year on a handheld handycam. This year it is like literally, I don't want to say broadcast quality because I know the size of the cameras WWE used, but they were very much on that level. Cameras with wireless transmitters. I'm not a nerd for these kind of things, but I've been told by people who are that you are looking at potentially tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. And you make an investment in that, it pays dividends because you've got a product that fans are buzzing about, but it also is not something where people are going to load them and go, this shit's blurry, it's unwatchable. It actually is watchable. So yeah, wXWnow.com, I think it's on Vimeo. You've got an absolute massive backlog and back catalogue of WXW events. So yeah, come for 16 Karat Gold, which we're going to talk about, and stay for all the rest of their back catalogue, which these times you haven't got any excuse not to watch.
That's right. It is the perfect time to kind of like I talk about, find something new maybe that you haven't checked out. And this weekend of shows is always a tremendously fun one. It's in some ways it's kind of like PWG Battle of Los Angeles in comparison to the fact that you're going to get a lot of great, what we as reviewers like to call notebook matches. You're going to get a lot of your great 4-star plus matches over the course of a weekend, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about here today. We're not going to quite review the whole shows, but We're just going to kind of talk about basically what our notebook stuff is, the biggest things that you should definitely check out. But yeah, if you're looking for something new, it's like $9.99 a month. It's an affordable streaming service. The new stuff here looks amazing, and as Ian said, you have a large back catalog with a lot of interesting stuff that they, over the years that you can check out. A lot of names that and a lot of names that you probably will want to get to know.
Yeah, and again, we'll touch through the shows that I'm going to say all these are on WXW now. I'll start with the Inner Circle. So traditionally, these weekenders are held, all big shows in Oberhausen. They tend to do a show at their training academy. It's, famously known, fans call it Tim's house. Tim Thatcher used to live there when he was based out of Germany. And literally, if you go back through the WXW's back catalogue, you'll see videos of a lot of academy shows. They film one once a year, but this is basically the big training room they have. They cover up like the weightlifting gear they have. Obviously, they don't want fans bumping into weight machines for obvious reasons. So they rearrange the building, have the ring up there, holds about 150, 170 fans, and I've been to a good few shows there now, and I would say it's one of my favourite intimate venues in terms of getting the number of fans in and just the general feeling of the building. And also, when you go to these shows, it feels like it's the true kick-off of these weekenders. Even though there was all the uncertainty, it felt like home to some extent. But say Inner Circle, again, not going through all the results, but I would say if you're looking to cherry pick stuff. So if you're looking for comedy, and again, if you're coming in with absolutely no background on WXW, maybe skip this one because you do kind of need some degree of knowledge in. But it was a match between Jay Skillett and a relative newcomer called Lavaniel. The joke here is Lavaniel dressed up and acted like Absolute Andy, former WXW champion. Don't want to sell him short. But Jay Skillett and Andy are regular tag team partners. They end the weekend with tag gold. Bit of a spoiler, but yeah, so they did the whole thing where Lavaniel thought he was Skillett's tag partner. They wrestled each other. The absolute highlight of this match is towards the end, where Lavaniel tries to do the Eddie Guerrero, sidesteps so that his opponent charges into the ref and then fake low blow. Except the referee didn't get bumped. He saw him do the clap and, I've been punched in the balls, and completely called him out on it. So you don't need to know the whole background, but just that one spot alone made the match more than worthwhile. Outside of that, if you're just looking for really good notebook matches, top two matches on this one. And what we'll say is this was a mystery show, so everyone went in not knowing, not even the names of people on the card. There was normally they announce maybe 2 or 3 matches. This was, like I say, complete mystery card. Semi-main event, Shigehiro Irie against Scotty Davis, and my God, this was amazing. I'll put my hands, I'm a massive fan of Irie, and just seeing him come out and knew that we were in for some absolute fantastic stuff. Scotty Davis, he's not, I don't say small, but compared to Irie, he's very much from a small side, and he bounced like a mother for him. It's been a while since I've seen Irie live, but he does the pounce, which is absolutely fantastic. And towards the end, there's a cannonball that damn near murdered poor Scotty. Irie, absolute delight to see live, and Scotty Davis more than brought his own here. This one easy in notebook, 4 stars for me. You haven't seen Inner Circle, have you, Larry?
No, I plan on catching it this weekend.
Yeah, so this one, I think all the shows up now. I think by the time this goes out, they'll all be up with English commentary. Alan Farrell, Alan Cunningham did commentary for this show. He was unable to make the weekend due to the early stages of what's going on now. But he was thankfully able to do commentary on this show, and you could tell he absolutely loved this match. He also loved the main event, which I went 4 1/4 on, and I'll say traditionally in the WXW Academy, it's very tight. It's all pretty much a flat floor, so technical wrestling matches can get a bit lost. This match, absolutely not. Chris Ridgway, Daniel Makabe against Daisuke Ikeda and Yuki Ishikawa. this was match-based, this was hard-hitting. The one thing part of this match was going to live with me until I die is the sight of Daisuke Ikeda being told by Ishikawa on the apron, kick him, just repeatedly. And yeah, they kicked, lots of kicks. I know Mark Bay, this is one of his dream matches, or as close as he's probably going to get to it. And yeah, in terms of an atmosphere with 150-ish fans at that kind of distance to the ring, it's an absolute sight to behold. And yeah, this whole Inner Circle, about an hour, 40 minutes long. You've got English commentary, so yeah, it's not a slog to watch. And it's a nice little setup for the rest of the weekend. And hop over to the Turbine Hall night one. And think this entire weekend, in fact, and I've not included, so on my website, I put notebook matches as over 4 stars. But even then, from there, we've got 6 matches that were 4.25 or higher, and a few more that go over that. First one from Carat proper is actually the opening match from the tournament. Speedball Mike Bailey against Chris Ridgway, and they'd announced the first round matches going in, obviously not the order. Opening the show proper with this, exactly what I expected. Lots of kicks, Ridgway, he's been an absolute revelation since he's come back from Pro Wrestling Noah. And this was an absolute delight. Lots of kicks. Bailey, traditionally in Europe, he's always been the bridesmaid, but never the bride. He's on a lot of promotions, but he's never really gotten much of a sustained push, I would say. And part of me thought he was going to be going out in the first round here, but Bailey swung for fences and hit. One with the ultimate weapon, that's the shooting star knees out the corner, which, you've seen this live. Speedball's knees. He does those moonsault knees on the apron. That poor sod's going to be, I suspect, dealing with arthritis for the next decade.
He's gonna, if he's not careful, my man's gonna end up like Muda with the double knee replacement down the line. But yeah, I agree. This match is absolutely great. Speedball Mike Bailey has a great weekend, as we're going to discuss here. I love the guy. I hate the fact that he has the ban hammer in the U.S. because of the border issues in the past. But that's really great for like Europe and him working in Japan and other places. And he's grown as a performer during that time, because he was a guy that a lot of people just looked at as a spotty kicks dude.
I will hold my hands up. When he first came around to Europe after that ban, I was one of those guys. There was a match I saw at Rev Pro, and I'm just, again, our good friends at Cage Match. It was a good match I saw at Rev Pro at the Cockpit years ago, which, I would say I was dreading, but a lot of me was going, it's just going to be kicks, isn't it? And yeah, a lot of it was kicks. Just pulling up. This would have been probably one of my first Cockpit shows. Zach Gibson against Mike Bailey. So we're talking October 2017. So not quite, in the early days of his band, but fairly. You're talking about what, 2 and a bit years ago. And since then he's developed. He's not just Mr. Kick. And anyone who watches Doug, that's going to be a bit for earworm view. But yeah, this was, like I say, Bailey has well and truly developed since those early days where, like I say, people saw him as a kicky spot monkey. Ridgway, he's well and truly learned how to lay it in his tools of Noah, and the two absolutely meshed perfectly here. Only thing I'll say is, they maybe went a little bit long. That's kind of a theme for the weekend, but don't ever put you off this match. Fantastic match to get carried underway.
I do agree. It might have gone a smidge long, but it was great. It's an easy 4, if not a smidge above. I really enjoy it. And like you said, Ridgway is a guy who has also changed up his game. As you said, he's laying it in better. The Noah stuff has really helped, and Mike Bailey evolving over the past couple years has been also a delight to see. And that's kind of the thing, because we're not being dicks about it, but Mike Bailey was Kicky McFlips. That's what he was.
Yep.
And that's all he was for the longest time. I mean, granted, it was tremendously fun and he was good at it, but it's also, you look back at a guy like AJ Styles early on. AJ went from just the spot monkey dude who developed into a great high flyer, who then started developing into a really good professional wrestler, and then eventually became a great pro wrestler over the years. But if you would have told somebody back in 2002 in the early TNA days that AJ Styles was going to be considered a really great professional wrestler and an IWGP Heavyweight Champion and shit like that, and even a WWE Champion, I mean, nobody really would have bought it because he was just a small total spots dude. But thankfully, people do evolve and learn over the years, and that is the thing I really enjoyed about this match, was seeing both guys really grow and change. And yeah, definitely, as you said, a great way to start things off, no doubt.
Guess go a little bit further down the show. So WXW in this tournament, they had 2 academy guys, I guess you'd say. Rotation has been with WXW for a while. He qualified for a tournament in Over Traveling back in February. The other guy who got into the tournament was a fella by the name of Julian Pace, whose gimmick is, well, I guess a lot of people, a handful of fans call him the shoot car. His gimmick is he's a Formula One race car driver, and it works. It works for him. He generally does have the speed. He has the agility. There's a weird, I don't know how to call it. It's a weird feeling around him all weekend, in which he had a section of fans who were booing him, and there's nothing in the storylines that really suggests, like, maybe you could argue that he'd gone on a run where he'd challenged for tag title for so long and lost. You could maybe see a turn, but the fans were booing, and there's nothing particularly overt to warrant that kind of thing. His first round opponent was Bandito, who, going to say, made quite a bit for himself this weekend. And I went just under 4 stars on this. I know you went, I think you went 4 on this, but this is a fantastic match for Julian Pace. He absolutely wasn't just being carried by Bandito. He more than held up his end of the bargain. Yeah, Pace v Bandito, another cracking, pacey match, pardon the pun. And yeah, I think really first true acid test for Julian in WXW.
Yeah, I did go 4 on this. I really enjoyed it. I thought Pace stepped up. I wasn't quite sure what to expect from him because I had seen extremely little of him. And as you said, this was not like a Bandito carry job or all Bandito. I thought it was just a great little match. And yeah, Bandito is a dude who I love. I am glad he ended up staying with Ring of Honor because he's a guy that they needed to keep. And he's a guy that very, very rarely disappoints. I thought he stepped up here, and as you said, he ends up having a very great weekend.
And again, say with Julian Pace, okay, he went out in round 1, but he very much played a part for the rest of the weekend. Next match for me, I went straight 4 on, and this may be my predilection towards big lads wrestling. Black Taurus Shigehiro Irie. I think in my preview I'd shorthandedly described Taurus as an agile big lad. Irie, if you've seen anything of him, he's very much that mold. And by God, they didn't hold back. Was fair degree of English-speaking fans in the crowd, and was towards the end of the match was a chant of "If you all love beef, clap your hands," which hats off to whoever started that one. But yeah, this was absolutely fantastic. It's not the big lads wrestling that, dare I say, WWE sometimes fall foul of. It's just shoulder tackles and like. These two left their feet a lot. They swung for the fences. I say easy 4 stars for me, maybe a bit higher, but I think this one maybe went a bit short for my taste. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it went. I think the good thing is, I will agree it went a little short, but I think it was short in a non-disappointing way because I wanted more. So, hopefully we eventually see it again. Yeah, I went 4 on it as well. This was an athletic Hossy battle. You had those great Hoss elements, but as you said, the big lads left their feet. A lot of agility shown in here. I love Taurus. I want to see more of him. Impact used him on their tapings, and it's they fucking did shitty stuff with him. Stuff with Rhino and Moose.
You surprised me.
I know, right? I know you're shocked to hear this, but it's come on now. It's like you're bringing this dude in, and that's all you're gonna do. But yeah, I love him. Erie is a guy I don't get to see enough of, and he's a guy pretty much every time I see, I walk away. I'm like, this dude is great.
I think that Impact show was the one taped in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, I'm guessing it's visa issues, obviously, when all this blows over. Hopefully that gets sorted out, because I do feel Black Taurus, if he gets that visa, whether it's AEW, whether it's, I don't know, MLW, but whoever, if they can get him nailed down with the work visa, you've got a star in the making here.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That AAA, according to Cubs fan, when I was talking with him on the show, AAA is very leery of trying to let like Taurus and El Vikingo get visas, like proper visas, because they know once they do that they may not come back.
People learning from wrestling of the past. Seems weird.
That's right.
But yeah, I think that was my last notebook match for sure. Like I say, nothing on this for me really stunk. The only thing I would say, just a general criticism, and a lot of people who live were saying this as well. The show did run way long. I think that was a bit the theme for the whole weekend. We had 11 matches on this show. So it's 11? No, 8, 9, 10. So you had, there's a pre-show 4-way, the 8 first-round matches for all folded in on this show, and then main event's a tag team title match in which Absolute Andy and Jay Skillett won the tag titles from the Pretty Bastards. And yeah, night one in the books. Say good, really solid, good show, and nice way to set things up for day 2. So day 2 for 16 Karat Gold was a show I didn't attend. So a guy called Mike Kilby, he's got this trend called the Wild Ride, usually for these festival weekenders, particularly for Carat. There's another company called Wrestling Cult, which runs roughly around northwest Germany. They run about bi-monthly. They do a show in a building called the Cult Temple, which is basically in the parking lot of the Turbine Hall. So you don't really have that far to walk in terms of going from show 1 to show 2. Only problem is that's like a 9:30 doors, and when you're getting back to the hotel half midnight, doing photos, then sleep, breakfast, and all that, it's not exactly conducive to sleep and normal human function. But yeah, from what I've seen from people's reviews, it's an okay show. But yeah, my first show of day 2 was Ambition, and one that a lot of people have said is perhaps the best Ambition tournament yet. Ambition, it's the wXw shoot style tournament, and this one they had an 8-man tournament and 2 super fights, they called them. Again, I have been rating Ambition, but really it's more of a personal preference. I know some people, a lot higher match for me, but for myself, I've got 2 super fights I put down in my notebook at 4 stars. Ethan Allen against Luke Jacobs. So these are 2 teenagers from the northwest of England. They team together usually as the Young Guns. So if you've seen Progress, you may have seen them the once or twice they've wrestled there. They had this fight in a promotion called Tetsujin back end of last year. And wXw's CEO and referee Tassel Young was refereeing that match. It's an absolute blow-away match. I'm still yet to see it, and you'd think I'd get around to this, what we're going through now, but he refereed it. Was absolutely blown away. Got on the phone to another high up in WXW, Felix Kohlenberg, booked this match of his show, and yeah, these 2 guys came into the match. I would dare say, apart from the English and Irish fans travelling in, nobody who's out of Germany knew who these guys were, I dare say. By the end, that wasn't the case. They turned the "Who are you?" chants into standing applause, "Please come back" chants. And yeah, they had to beat the piss out of each other to do it, but yeah, it was an absolutely fantastic little match. So Luke Jacobs was pretty much on the defensive from the out. He had one little window where he nearly made his partner, nearly take out his partner, but in the end, I think it was a sit-out tombstone knocked Ethan Allen loop. Sit-out tombstone knocked Ethan Allen loop, but then he came back and won with some kicks and an armbar. So it was a fantastic match. Even if you're not into shoot style, I would definitely say make some time for this one. So the whole Ambition show is about an hour and a half long as well, so it's not going to be that big a time sink. Other match, I think we talked about before we started recording, Daisuke Ikeda, Yuki Ishikawa. This was the super fight. They tend to announce these about 6 months out. And these two guys, their combined age over 100, they did not male retain. This was like your two cheeky granddads fighting each other. The odd, not in terms of obvious low blows, but cheeky stuff with non-referee and lots of headbutts. So many headbutts. There's a gif that Tassel Young, wXw Tassel on Twitter's retweeting Fred with a running headbutt between these two. And seeing it live, I was, when I was watching from press balcony, you could hear quite a lot. Those kicks were full on. The headbutts were full on. And one thing that I was able to see from where I was sitting, which I guess a lot of the crowd didn't, Timothy Thatcher, who was in for his final weekend in wXw, he'd paid to fly over to watch this, and wXw talked him into doing a farewell match. He was loving every single second of this. I could expect he would.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like it's right up Tim Thatcher's alley, so I'm not surprised that he was loving that.
And so the only other match, the final, Daniel Maccabee, Chris Ridgway, they were tag partners on Thursday, finalists on this show. Absolutely fantastic match. Maccabee, he got a cheap pop. So, how much of Daniel Maccabee have you seen, Larry?
Not a ton. I've liked a ton of what I've seen, though. I think he's a dude that, he's a guy that I keep hearing other guys wanting to work with. Is, I think the biggest compliment I can give him. I find him very enjoyable. I like a lot of what he's doing. I think he's done a lot of great stuff that I've seen. I haven't seen a ton of him, but everything I see him is, the baseline very good, and then, most things are great. But I constantly see guys like Alex Shelley on Twitter, I want to work with Daniel Maccabee. And
it was no different here. I think the big thing that opened a lot of people's eyes to Maccabee was he's done a trilogy with Tim Thatcher, and what I would dare say is the now defunct 3-2-1 Battle promotion. He had a load of bookings lined up for WrestleMania weekend. I know this is now 2 years in a row. He had a match with Eric Royal that's fallen through. Hopefully third time's a charm, because that's the match I really want to see. But yeah, his big gimmick is he wears football shirts, soccer jerseys, to the ring. And I kind of fell foul. So when he did his wXw debut last year for the Ambition tournament in October, he wore a Sunderland shirt that I'd given him a few days earlier. And not by everyone, the local rival to Sunderland is Newcastle United. There's a few Newcastle fans I knew were going to be there. And you can hear on the VOD, I think it was actually Matthew Botchamania, you just hear him going, "You fucking what? Boo!" Or, literally, because Ambition, they don't tend to do commentary on these. So the fact that you could hear, the crowd just completely overwhelmed. But, he does get bits of stick for football shirts. I know night one he wore a Chelsea shirt, which didn't go down well. For the final here, he wore an Ireland national team shirt. That got an absolute monster pop from the Irish fans. And match itself, absolutely fantastic. I need to rewatch this because I think a lot of my ratings for night two a bit on the low side. Again, this was the third day of shows I'd seen. Fatigue just set in even live. Yeah, it's an absolutely cracking one. And I say, if you're into the kind of shoot style, just watch the whole damn show. Even the guys who are there to be the... I hate the term, the gimme, but Vincent Heisenberg was a late substitute for Veit Muller, who at time of recording may well be done with wrestling, which, who knows given what's going on, but he was a very late replacement. He held his own against Chris Ridgway, didn't last long, but didn't embarrass himself. That's the worst match, then it's a good show. We followed that up with the wXw Now showcase. Well, I will say there's nothing on here that I'd say is in the notebook based on my star ratings live. But just to give a bit of background, the wXw Now showcase. So it's basically a big advert for wXw Now. The wXw streaming service has more than wXw on it, so it's a bit like High Spots, IWTV, that kind of thing. As we stand now, they have I'll just reel them off. Hungarian promotion called Art of Wrestling, Body Slam Pro Wrestling out of Denmark, BEW from obviously Britain, CZW. We've got some IWA Mid-South, a company called Pro Wrestling Deutschland out of Dresden, Riptide, Rising Sun Wrestling out of Italy, Smash from Canada, obviously a butt ton of wXw, White Wolf out of Spain, and Wrestling Cult, we mentioned earlier. So what this was basically a massive advert for the wXw Now streaming service, and they had 7 matches from 7 partner promotions. Just run through the matches. Wrestling Cult gave us Carnage against Mexberg. It was okay. White Wolf gave Kaiden against Rizzo, which I've seen a lot of mixed reviews. I wasn't a big fan of. It was what it was. BW gave a women's match, Kat Von Cage against Alexa Barlow. CZW had a match, Joe Gacy against Anthony Green. I went 3.5. I know on Furious, he's a lot higher on this than I was. I need to rewatch this because, again, it's like the second show of the day and a lot more to do. I think the fact that 2 matches before were a little bit, I would say, pushing them out, but weren't exactly lighting anyone's world on fire. It's very hard to go from very low to very high without thinking, am I just overrating this because the last 2 matches weren't great? But yeah, this was a really good match, and those like the CCW, Larry, still have some stock in Germany.
Yeah. Sorry.
The other matches we had, Body Slam gave a 3-way. You okay?
Yeah, just swallowed wrong.
So again, just finish off. Body Slam gave a 3-way. Michael Fine, Emeritus, Peter Alessander. Again, was okay. Rising Sun out of Italy, Nicolo Inverardi against Luke DePazzi. It was pretty good. Again, I think it's one of these. You've got a small crowd who probably don't watch all this stuff, so a lot of new faces. And again, by the time the crowd got to recognise them in the face and knew who to cheer and who to boo, match was mostly over. Main event, Smash, Tyson Du, Sebastian Suave, Brent Branks, Tariq. In Smash, they're a team called the Pillars. They wrestled each other. What I will say is, on the whole, this was a pretty good show. The wXw Now showcase. I don't want to say one you've got to go off your way to see. Again, if you've got wXw Now, when they put it up, it's not going to hurt to watch it. But yeah, you'll see a lot of decent wrestling. And the one thing I think was Alan Cheapshot, who was up at the press balcony with us for a lot of these, was saying you had all these promotions had one match to put on to really get eyeballs on them, and you had a lot of the same kind of style, which if you like the style, great, but if you're trying to maybe showcase that you're different from everybody else, I don't think a lot of them hit the mark there, but I don't too many of them did themselves a disservice. But yeah, this is another matinee show that was in and out pretty quickly, and then was on to the night 2 of 16 Carat Gold, which traditionally is wXw's biggest show of the year. So on these festival weekends, the Saturday evening tends to be the biggest one. They had 1,600 fans there, and I think see a video on the wXw Now YouTube. They had I guess called an anthem for the weekend. It was like a spoof of a German drinking song, I guess you call it. And it's very mixed reception. Song called Carat nur einmal im Jahr, which translated Carat's only once a year. They redid all the lyrics. Got a live performance beforehand. If you like that kind of kitsch, I don't want to say Eurotrash, but I say very European style, you'll like it. If you don't, you won't. There's no middle ground. But we kick off with quarterfinals. Again, we're just going through the notebooks. For me, I think overall, because I split the tag gauntlet down to individual matches, so I'll may as well call the tag gauntlet my first notebook of the day, simply because of how memorable it was. So Jay Skillet's Absolute Andy won the tag belts on Friday, and they did a long segment here where they introduced a new format called the JAA Tag Team Expert and Wildcard Gauntlet. A lot of comedy in the promo. Thankfully, it's up in English with subtitles, so you don't need to know German. But the gimmick was that Andy had been busy. He'd called a nap and had done something to pretty much pair up people into wXw with each other who hadn't tagged together. So it's basically wildcard tag teams, and Vunovic got a match against him for tag titles on the next day. And so you got the usual, I don't say tropes, but the usual stuff you get, like tag team partners on opposite sides of the ring. You had the fantastic Big Lads team of Avalanche and Black Taurus, which they nearly won the gauntlet. I think they came in match number 2 and went pretty much all the way. And how's this in 2020? DJ Hyde actually wrestling.
Yeah, I was like, I'm watching this and I'm like, okay, Avalanche and Taurus for killing guys. This is great. Then I'm like, DJ Hyde. I'm like, okay. I'm like, and then I was like, oh Christ. I'm like, they better not fucking lose to DJ Hyde. That was obviously my first thought though. I was like, no.
So what they did, obviously in the showcase show, they had Deej come out after the Joe Gacy Anthony Green match. And it was the whole, thank you, we met, because it's easy to have run shows in Germany. In fact, once just dropped on wXw now, if you want to go on the back catalogue. And it was putting over the crowd, said, yeah, we're running again in Germany, cheap pop. And he said, we're running in Hamburg on November 13th. As the screen put up a graphic saying Frankfurt on November 13th. DJ Hyde, not exactly great with geography or calendars, but they kept him around for this one. Tag team partner was Levaniel, who, like I say, is very new to wXw, who come up through the academy. And his match, shall I say, was him doing a long promo going to the ring. I think, again, I've not seen this back in German with English subtitles, but apparently his promos along the lines of, I had a grandfather who wrestled death matches in Japan. DJ Hyde just, shaking his head like, who the hell have I been paired with? Vader Bomb puts DJ Hyde away within seconds. Levaniel, completely oblivious to it all, thinks the match hasn't started yet, and he just walks straight for back. Still haven't even taken off his robe. That's the easiest night's work you can get. Walked the ring, cut a promo, walked for back.
That's right, good work if you can get it.
Then, say the last leg of that gauntlet, Chris Ridgway, Scotty Davis against the Young Guns, Luke Jacobs, Ethan Allen. That was absolutely cracking again. Last leg of the gauntlet, the crowd gets a bit tired, and maybe the Joe could kind of run a bit far here, but yeah, that's pretty good. So Young Guns win, get the tag title shot for next day. And from there, we have a pretty quick squash match second half. Match for weekend follows. Speedball Mike Bailey and Bandido. Now, I've seen ratings all over the place for this. I've seen some people, going fairly low on this. I've also seen some people like me going the full 5. What I will say is a lot of the people giving 5 stars, probably, they're live, and if you saw the events at the end of the match, you probably, would have been bumped yourself. Looking on Cage Match now, it's an average about 4.5 stars, which again, still really damn good. This one, to me, 2 guys. This is maybe playing more into the flippy side of Mike Bailey, rather than the kicky side. But yeah, I had a few issues early on, but been more than recovered. And to me, it was that finishing stretch just put it over top for me. Handspring into reverse round from Speedball. Rings to the end. Torch Rack go to sleep. Bandito went for 21 plex, but couldn't get done. It was a fish. I'm trying to describe a moonsault fall-away slam with the Fisherman's of a hooked leg. That gets the win. And yeah, I mean, I've seen matches where fans have thrown money in afterwards. Here, they were throwing in notes. They were throwing in so many coins. Like you've obviously seen it, and the amount of money they threw in the ring afterwards. I think they filled 2 bowls full of coins, which, yeah, bearing in mind what's about to come back, I don't know how wise that might have been, but and I think the thing that, again, really stood out as well, Chris Lawson, who's a massive fan of Bandido, was ringside, and he just lost his shit, as he would if he'd seen a match like that. They brought him into the ring and paraded him on their shoulders, but actually made the VOD as well. So it was a nice little moment as well for him on top of a fantastic match.
I looked at this match, and I got to it, and I thought real quick, just like overall the undercard for this show until we got to this point, I thought was all good. I enjoyed what was going on, and then you got to this match, and I guess the best way to describe it for me is take everything that you love about Mike Bailey and everything you love about Bandito, throw that shit in the blender.
Yep.
And drink it down, because that's what this was. I mean, yeah, like you said, it may have gone a little more towards the flippy side of things, but the thing is, sometimes you just have to play to your crowd and do what you got to do. Yeah, I mean, that's like people going, I like Ishii and Shingo, but all they did was hit each other real hard and fire up for a while. Well, what the fuck do you want them to do? Grapple? Ankle locks? What the fuck?
This went 17 minutes. It did not feel 17 minutes.
Oh, Christ, no. It flies by.
In fact, you have people saying, 5 stars, it's got to be an epic. Well, I've seen a 5-star match. Ishii and some G1. I'm going to kill myself for forgetting the name. Shibata and Ishii from a G1 a few years back.
Okay.
That was a sprint. That was 5 stars. They both, if they're both going to bring, they brought it. The fact it was in a sprint, who cares? This match, for me, one of my favourite matches I've seen live. I have seen people say that it maybe went towards the NXT overly spotty thing, but it worked for a live crowd. You had everyone on their feet. You saw the reception afterwards with all the money raining down. And, yeah, to me, I think it's the match of the weekend.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I went just under 5 on it. Although I think it's one of those matches that, like, you were there, so you would know, obviously. I think it's one of those things that if I was there in that atmosphere, I would have been 5 all day long on it. I just, when I was done with it, I thought it was phenomenal, but I just kind of have this rule that, like, not like a rule, but, like, for me, like, if a match is 5, I know when it's done.
Yeah.
And I just...
Again, we've got live bias, which, pushed a lot of people over the top. I know, they say Arn Fuse is there, he's got his famous notebook. He went full bolt straight away, and I think a lot of people, it was either, you were either screaming from the rooftops it was 5, or it was just, it was really good, that kind of thing. It was nobody live, that I saw at least, hated this.
No, I thought it was phenomenal. It's just like, you look at this match, you see these two dudes, and it's like, yeah, it's like, I don't think I could have asked for anything more from it. I enjoy both guys so much, and like I said, I got to this on the card. I had stayed spoiler free for the most part, and I knew the match was coming, and I sat there and I get this match, and I was just like, it's going on and it's going on. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ! I'm like, yes. So it fucking just fantastic. I mean, again, we're trying to hit all the notebook style stuff for you guys. This is definitely one, if you don't have a ton of time, although you should, considering the whole pandemic, corona, quarantining, and isolationism. Yeah. I mean, this is one, make your time to see it. I mean, again, it may not be quite 5 for you, but it's well worth your time. And as Ian said, it's right around like 17. It doesn't feel it. You're going to watch it. It's going to be over. You're going to be really happy. Watch this match.
And I guess from there, we go to the main event. So, storyline wXw, Bobby Guns beat Tim Thatcher for the belt in December, the anniversary show. And we've kind of wangled their way into a storyline with David Starr challenging, putting his career on the line. And I think Richard Benson does grapple spotlight, Bridger's experience of Post, but just before the match he said, I don't think David Starr's winning this. Why? He's barely promoted this on Twitter. He's not done he's the big promos, he's all this. And this one I went to shade over 4 on. Again, I've seen ratings go all over the place. I mean, this one I would say is the polar opposite of Bailey Bandito in that the match went 41 minutes, so very long. If you are very much in the mindset of, I don't understand how David Starr's got this match, apart from him putting his career on the line, there's no stakes. I can understand why a lot of people wouldn't like it. a lot of fans also not big on Bobby Guns in the spot as world champion, but for me, the two of them, wrestled, say, largely grounded style. You got David Starr, as the match went on, progressively getting more and more panicky, as you would if your crew was on the line. But in the end, fell short. Bobby Guns worked for hand, the arm pretty much all match long. So submissions and the lariats just couldn't come up as much. And yeah, all I will say is Bobby Guns won with an Emerald Fusion. And the second that third count came down, the air was sucked out the turbinal. I've never seen 1,600 people so quiet. And obviously there's been stuff come out since that. So I don't. Do we really want to discuss the, why he's left some people's mind? I know WXW were very quiet at the press conference the next day. Depending on your interpretation of it, some say that Starr got WXW were coerced into getting rid of David Starr. Starr himself had said that he'd been feeling a bit of a disconnect with the locker room. At the same time, just in terms of how things work, I said with him territorially, apart from winning the title, there wasn't much more he could do. And realistically, he's had a couple of shots. If they weren't going to give him a run of the belt, there literally was nothing else for him to do. And I know a year ago, from at WrestleMania last year, he famously quit during the WXW show in New York. Don't know if you remember that promo that Gabe Handley edged out the show. I mean, whichever way you want to believe, there was some talk that Starr WXW did say that asked him to tone down political stuff. Obviously, that wasn't forthcoming. Whether you want to believe political stuff was just for unionization stuff or whatever. But yeah, I mean, this was a pretty good last hurrah for David Starr. And that's yet another WWE adjacent promotion he's no longer working with.
Yeah, real quick on the match, I'm with you on the notebook status. I think I went a flat 4 on it. I find it, I really enjoyed, I thought the work was really good. I did like how it was so different from Bandito and Speedball, because I think that's very important on a show like this. I think it got a little long in the tooth for me. Done, because like I said, it nears right around that 40-minute mark, and I think it was just a little long. And as you said, though, that result, yeah, the air completely goes out of that room. It's a rare thing to see when somebody loses like that, to get such an instant reaction, but it was right away. And yeah, I mean, I talked about it. We're recording this on the 19th, by the way. I talked about it actually on the show with Steve this morning. The whole rumor is that WWE put pressure on wXW to distance themselves from Starr because of his political leanings and trying to get wrestlers into the equity union and shit like that. And, Starr had commented that free speech isn't free. wXW hasn't really commented on it, but there's also a lot of people that have just said that wXW was just kind of looking to, move along, and that they weren't going to strap up Starr, as Ian said, and that it was just kind of a parting of ways. And depending on who you believe, I mean, it's you can believe either one very easily, because we all know that's kind of like the WWE mantra, like, if you're not with us, you're against us. But again, if you're not going to strap up Starr and make him a major part, I mean, you really don't need him around. You might as well try to get something out of it. So again, I don't know necessarily which side to believe. I can easily buy either one, though.
Yeah, and again, there was a press conference, so I was there with media credentials. There's a press conference
look at
the
you
next
there,
day.
fancy pants with your media credentials.
WXW are the only ones who embrace this kind of stuff, and like I say, this is the 6th time I think we've done week festivals, but I've been to, so much appreciated, and obviously for coverage, very appreciated too. But there was Will Cooling asked a question about David Starr, and again, this is just my crib notes from it. Tassel Young, referee, and one of the higher ups in WXW. Said there's a limit how they can dive into it. After Starr after the show, Star was given free rein on what to say, whether to do an in-character promo in terms of, I put my career up against Bobby Guns, I lost, and this is my goodbye, or whether he wanted to do a personal promo for the live crowd. He went down that road because this promo did not make it into the VOD. It has since been uploaded on the WXW YouTube page, so if you want to see it, it's there. We're not going to miss him. We're going to miss him a lot, but we won't comment on the decision itself. And we also put over Star for not phoning it in on his way out because he had a big match with Ilya Dragunov in Hamburg a few weeks ago, which he won, which in hindsight, is a bit of a red herring. But yeah, like I say, it's it's a good match on its way out, but it does leave a bit of a gap to the top of the card for WXW, which, hopefully this enforced break means they can, shuffle bits around.
I have an idea to solve this.
Go on.
It's very easy. Strap up Eddie Kingston and just let him cut promos on everybody.
Well, there's this thing that's off. There's a few guys who we're not mentioning it in terms of notebook matches, which, again, it's a problem some people haven't. For me, at times, I have a bit of an issue with, if you just go right in the star rate and go, watch this because this is 4 1/4. You do miss a lot. But Eddie Kingston this weekend has been an absolute revelation. His whole spiel, and he's been doing some Rev Pro as well, has been that, he's fed with making stars. It's his turn to be the star. And I think it was night 1 against Daniel Maccabee he beat and then, did the quote-unquote turn. Against Rotation Night 2, he beat the living piss out of. Night 3, okay, may have come unstuck, but his performance and his promos over the weekend, absolute top-notch.
Yeah, I love Eddie Kingston. I think it's like, my biggest problem with Eddie Kingston is when promotions would use him and not give him a microphone. It's like, first of all, why the fuck are you using Eddie Kingston if you're not going to let him talk at all?
Some people just can't see wood for the trees.
Yeah. Very true.
So going to the Sunday show, the show we just dropped today as we record this, the Wheel of Wrestling feature event. So I know the VOD, VOD opens with a speech by Dennis Birkendahl. So basically, this show is meant to be building up another show in Frankfurt later this month for WXW. Obviously, reference going on, live wrestling is pretty much cancelled worldwide. And as it stands, at the time of recording, the next show WXW has on their calendar is in May. And they even say they don't even know when they're going to run because right now, who knows how things are going to play out. So if you're watching the VOD, they've pretty much said there's going to be stuff in commentary, there's going to be stuff in video packages and promos, which is going to be building up to matches that aren't going to happen. Or at least not the way they're built to. But yeah, just going through the lineup for the feature event. There's only one match I put down as definitely the notebook. That would have been the Young Guns against JAA for the tag titles. It was a win for Absolute Andy J. Skillet. They got first defense in. But what I will say is for the Young Guns, more than able showing them in this match. The only thing I would say for them, they almost got a little bit overwhelmed by just the sheer characters of Andy and Skillet. And to a point almost by referee Tassel Young, they did a comedy spot where, I forget which one of the Young Guns it was, but they did a bit where, tag champs were cheating. I think it was Ethan Allen who charged at Andy to try and get to him. Tassel Young throws his arm up to point to get out the ring, and he runs into ref's elbow. So that kind of stuff, I could maybe see why some people may not like it, but as a match, a really good showing. And like I say, the Young Guns, hopefully when all this blows over, can become regulars in WXW. But yeah, pretty good weekend in for them. Elsewhere in the cards, it was a 4-way to start out. Daniel Maccabee, Rust Taylor, Anthony Green, Scotty Davis. Perfectly fine 4-way match. Again, I've not seen the VOD, so I don't know what this was meant to build up to, but yeah, perfectly fine 4-way match. And main event, Shigehiro Irie against Walter. My only disappointment on match one is that it may be a bit too one-sided for Walter, but yeah, perfectly fine big lads match to wrap the show. And like I say, that dropped early tonight as we record this. But in real time, that was the Sunday afternoon matinee show, and we go straight into the finals. So yes, Jörn Simmons, Mike Bailey, I went just under 4 stars on this. I think Jörn, he was my favourite for the tournament because he'd been getting the biggest push going in. So he didn't play out, lost to Speedball pretty quickly on day 3, just over 10 minutes. Perfectly fine sprint. Jörn tried to overpower, but Speedball's kicks ended up beating Power. A little bit further down, we have the Timmy Thatcher farewell match. That was Walter and Daisuke Ikeda against Tim Thatcher and Yuki Ishikawa. Bear in mind, this was his farewell. This could just been all of them phoning it in. Again, I went to shade under 4 stars on this, but yeah, if you like, the hard-hitting, mat-based stuff, you know exactly what you're getting these for. Bit at the end, they tried to do a farewell for Tim Thatcher, and he looked to be about getting ready to speak, except then the locker emptied onto the stage, so he just ran out through a side door and went out not saying a word. But a very emotional farewell for Tim Thatcher in WXW.
A very Tim Thatcher exit.
Oh, absolutely.
So by the way, I actually went 4 on both of those matches you mentioned. I actually really enjoyed both of them for different reasons. I thought, again, a great weekend for Mike Bailey. Just really enjoyed, and I liked the tag a lot. As you said, it was kind of just a really good, hard-hitting match. I thought it was very fitting for what they were trying to do. And as you mentioned, it's just the exit of Tim Thatcher. It's like you kind of couldn't almost like scripted it better because it's very Tim Thatcher.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he has done promos before, but he's not well known for them. In fact, he saw that they would maybe try to surprise him. It's like, well, I don't want to do the Eric Carpenter thing, but may as well have been, screw you guys, I'm going home. But a fantastic match and a fantastic farewell. Someone touched on the next match, maybe not quite Notebook. So, shotgun title, it's the WXW secondary belt. It was meant to be Avalanche against Ilya Dragunov. It became a freeway just before the match started, literally as the match was starting. Throwing back to Ilya Dragunov's return 2 years ago at Carat, where they had a one-on-one title match, Walter and Bad Bones John Klinger, became a freeway. I know a few people got a little bit touchy, maybe a little bit precious about that. But Alexander Wolf came back, won the title. I went 3.5. I may well be the high man on this. But 2 things on this. One, a lot of people getting a bit leery about how WXW secondary belts on a WWE guy. Of course, that's now a moot point with what's going on. No, he'd been announced for dates that I think have now all been cancelled. But the other thing that came out at the end of it was surrounding last year's winner, Lucky Kid. Now, since Carat last year, Lucky Kid has not been on a good run of form. Being people saying he's been booked awfully. He went a bit for a losing run. He kind of expelled his former Rise teammates, even Kevin Pete Bouncer. Beat Cassius Ohno last December at the anniversary show. And since return of the year, his matches have been not bad, but they've all been interrupted by this flashing eye gimmick. His match against Jörn on night 1 was very short because for start he just got horrendously distracted by this blinking eye. The eye thing came at the end, and there's 2 lads attacking Alexander Wolf. They were Abdul Kanan and Aitak Bahar from the German Wrestling Federation, a team known as Group Anarchy. Lucky Kid ran down the ramp and joined in, so they're now a trio in WXW. Quite why Lucky Kid would get distracted by those videos and cost himself Carat, basically, I don't know. But yeah, Lucky Kid, he's fed up with being that other guy and now has his own stable, which they're calling Azel, which apparently means Eternity, which it's a new group, it's a new use, and obviously Lucky Kid, he's now been renamed Metahan, I think it's the real name. So it's a complete repackage. Obviously where this goes, really want to see, but the biggest thing I was impressed with, and you'll have seen as well, the ramp, WXW tend to use like a solid level walkway, kind of like WCW did for pay-per-views back in the day. This one was like a slight ramp, level bit, and another ramp. lucky sprinted down that thing, didn't trip up. That to me is the most impressive thing of the whole segment.
It is, because you've seen people trip on those things in the past.
Nitro sets.
I actually really enjoyed the shotgun match like you did. I won about 3.5 on it as well. I thought it was a really fun match. I thought, you had the surprise with Wolf and winning the title. And yeah, I know that caused a lot of diverse thoughts because it's a WWE guy. And especially, I think it came off extra sour to people because the night before with the Star thing, with the rumors coming out that WWE was the one that forced him out. So I think it came off extra sour to some people because of that. But I thought it was a fun gimmick for the show, just a nice little addition. And I like Alexander Wolf a lot. I think he's done extremely well in NXT UK. And I'm glad that after they fucking totally just destroyed and botched the Sanity thing, that he found a really good landing place and has done well.
I think, again, with the German fans at WXW, his return came off really well. It may be going back to well a bit too soon because he had a brief run at the end of last year. But again, like I say, it's all a bit of a moot point now. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see where they go with Wolf, or if they can go in with Wolf when they pick back up. From there, the two matches that are both definitely in the notebook, and WXW on Carat Weekends have their tradition, kind of like Battle of Los Angeles, the wacky 10-man tag. Here it was an absolutely spotty trios match. Hector Invictus, Puma King, Black Taurus against Julian Pace, Jeff Cobb and Bandido. Yeah, Bandido got another bowl full of money. This was absolutely nuts. Balls to the wall stuff. You had things for teams. You kind of guess what the pairing off is going to be. Jeff Cobb, Puma King, or Jeff Cobb and Hector Invictus, both biggish lads. Black Taurus and Jeff Cobb, two big lads. Puma King, Bandido, similar styles. Julian Pace, Hector Invictus. Maybe the odd ones out, but they certainly didn't stick out as much. They both went for dives as well. And this is just absolutely bonkers trios match, which WXW are getting into the habit of doing on these Carat semi-finals.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad they are because, yeah, this is at the very least, I think, an easy 4. It's a definite notebook match. Enjoyed the shit out of it. And like you said, natural pairing off of stuff with Cobb and Taurus and stuff like that. And it's just a nice mix because you have the big athletic lads in there, but you also got like your Bandito and stuff like that and Puma King. Tremendously fun. And like you said, it's a flippy trios match at times, but it's just a fucking blast.
I think there's one spot, and again, these have all been gifted to death by now. A super duper mega satellite head scissors from Bandido on Black Taurus, which, again, where I was sitting, I just could not believe what the absolute fuck I was watching. It's like, holy, he's going to stop, right? No, oh my, like that kind of stuff. It's the kind of thing you see when 2K20 glitches out, not no real human beings in a wrestling match. But yeah, this was absolutely glorious. You might not like a spot fest, okay, but the race fit perfectly in the placement. And the one favourite bit I've got at the end, obviously Jen took a ton of photos through valensafan.com, got the link on backbodydrop.com as well. At the end, the ring was showered with money again. And if you listen to VOD, and you probably caught this at the end, you can hear, so fans are throwing money in again, a lot of coins, and you can just hear Jeff Cobb scream, "Fuck!" Where you can see a coin's caught him somewhere. One thing I would say is, I know when we did the money stuff on night one, they did put an announcement out to say, please only notes, which was a hell of a hustle, kids. But they got a lot of, they only got one bowl full here, and again, Bandido over like a god in WXW, just most matches this weekend. But,
he was, dude. He had a hell of a weekend.
And I saw the QC at the merch stand as well, and there was something else as well. No social distancing going on there.
Well, dude, number one, he's used to all that in Mexico, just with the people and everything, and my man knew he was going to make money that weekend, so he was...
Oh, absolutely. He bought, I think, was the PWG belt and the Clash belt. So, he's doing I don't say the market picture, he's doing photos for the fans of the belts. And, you go to any indie show, if you have any wrestler with a belt, allowing you to take photos, they've always got a long queue. So, yeah, that was a pretty good one. Then your main event, Carat Noir against Mike Bailey to crown 16 karat gold winner. This went nearly half an hour. And to me, I went 4 3/4. Nearly, it was almost the point of going too long. But again, this one, for me, pretty good match. I know some people saying that maybe it's going into Forced Epic, maybe too much of the NXT, why am I so violent kind of stuff. But, Mike Bailey, I've seen in the past, is typically babyface. Here, he kind of went a bit more dark to win. It wasn't like oh my God, I've thrown Carat Noir through a table on fire. Why have I done that? That kind of, the Johnny Gargano stuff, which never clicked with me, you don't buy. But this to win a tournament final when especially Speedball's run in Europe hasn't exactly been paved with gold. To me, I thought it worked. Again, half an hour long, I think, say, night 1, the show finished about 11:30. Night 2 finished nearly close to midnight. Thankfully, night 3 started early because I think this finished about 9 p.m. after a 5 p.m. start. So, all long shows, but the crowd kept in with it. But yeah, the one concern, question mark, whatever you want to call it, this was Carat Noir's first weekend in WXW, and to win their biggest tournament did set up a few people's eyebrows raising, thinking, is this a glorified NXT UK tryout? I mean, to me, WXW as of yet hasn't been used as that kind of proving ground. But what I do think is with Carat Noir, the fact that he's come in with such a huge push when we've seen him progress. He won the belt in January. He doesn't promo, and they've already found issues doing any kind of program with him. Maybe it's going to work here because you're not going to have to deal with someone cutting a promo in a foreign language to the audience. But it'll be very interesting to see where they go when we do get back. Because now Carat Noir gets a title shot against Bobby Guns out of this. Yeah, what do you think of the final, Larry?
I went about the same as you, 4 3/4. I thought another Noir has impressed me a lot this year, because I've got to see a lot more of them this year. I've made it a point. I had people telling me I really needed to watch more. I thought Mike Bailey, again, just another sensational performance. And coming out of this weekend for me, just the whole thing this was the Bandito and Mike Bailey show, man.
Yeah.
I loved it because I love those guys, and I thought it was awesome to see them get to shine over there and get such a great reception overall.
I think one thing maybe shows, so again, I had a quick look on Grapple of the Average there, is about 3.5. I would be very curious to know how much that whole shadow of NXT UK looms over both people's ratings. I mean, the match itself, for me, I thought was absolutely great. It wasn't a case of, was it 5-star for me? I don't think it was anywhere near that. They did the whole thing, lots of kicks, because obviously these two guys, famed from, Carat Noir's old gimmick, his whole previous gimmick was a black belt in karate, or some of the martial arts. That's kind of carried over to this, but yeah, to me, it had the feel of an epic main event without feeling too forced. I say, Speedball, brought his A game, brought a lot of big stuff. The moonsault follow-away slam off the top rope. And there was one thing a few people picked up on the first night since David Starr left. Carat Noir using 2 of Starr's old moves, the Blackheart Bust, that brain buster over a knee, and what was the other one? There was another move that he'd used that people getting very suspicious of. Hey, it's funny he's using that now he's gone, but yeah, to me, there were no words. I mean, by this point, it's the end of a very long weekend, fantastic match, and like I say, WXW, I think this is only the second time that they've put the 16 karat gold tournament on debutant. I'm just looking back in through cage match past winners now, and I think the only guy who's won it on their first weekend in, Shingo, back in 2009. So I guess only time will tell whether Carat Noir reached the same heights as Shingo.
Yeah, we will find out. I thought it was a definitely a great close to things. Again, greatly enjoyed it. Like I said, the big takeaway for the weekend is if you guys get to watch this, especially the Notebook stuff, Car Noir, really good winner and everything. But Mike Bailey and Bandito just absolutely crushing this weekend.
I know, again, people have been to a lot more of these shows. This may not be the highest ranked Carat in terms of, great matches and the feeling coming out of the show, but, for me, I saw 60 matches over the course of 3 or 4 days. Nothing absolutely stunk for joint out. Yeah, there's a few matches which, if you watch all the shows, you may find maybe not quite as good as others. But again, if you're watching this at home on VOD, you've got 3 nights of Carat Ambition, the showcase show, the feature event, plus the Inner Circle, so about 7 shows across 4 days. A lot of content, a lot of matches, and quite a lot of it really good. So yeah, especially now, choice getting fairly limited since hardly anybody's doing new wrestling. Why not watch the last big festival weekend you may get for quite a while?
Yeah, and like I've said again, this is a great time if you are starved for wrestling, if you're missing New Japan, if you're missing the regular live US shows, if you're missing your favorite indie, this is a great time to pop on for a month and try out a new streaming service from somebody. And I mean, wXw is just as good as any, especially with Carat on there and the whole back catalog they have. A definite recommendation for me for the weekend from what I've seen of the 3 main shows. I really enjoyed. I'm going to catch some of the shorter stuff that Ian has talked about here, which again is why you were here, because you were there to talk about it. So I do appreciate that. And it's just, again, I think if you're kind of starved for some live stuff, for a lot of great stuff, and for something new, again, I can't recommend it enough. I think it's good, and I think it's a great time for a lot of people to kind of broaden their horizons. So. And
again, as well, you've got obviously WWE Network, that's WWE and real CWE, CW back catalogue. High spots, they've got a ton of stuff. Thing is, we're potentially looking at months before anything, I dare say, recognisable comes back. I mean, Dynamite last night, they were very careful in saying next Dynamite, not next week. And, as long as WWE's doing whatever hell it is they're doing at the PC, you're going to be wanting to see new stuff, or at least stuff new to you. So, yeah, give it a go. There's a lot of direct story reviews on backbodydrop.com. I'd say if you're going to dip in, take a look at Carat from this year. I dare say, take a look at all the Carats. I mean, the 3 that I've been to, there's not been a single bad one. And I think Carat in general does have that reputation of being Europe's top, tournament weekend for a reason.
Exactly. So, Ian, I want to thank you again. And, just so everybody knows, Ian is not only a good lad, but his wife is awesome, because this is actually his wedding anniversary. And he's joining me today to talk wrestling because she allowed it and is awesome. So we will thank her for her contributions this week. But no, Ian, thank you as always. Everybody follow backbodydrop.com. As Ian said, he has full reviews of these shows up. Some of the other shows he mentioned, and a backlog of stuff if you want to get more familiar with it. And again, it's a good time to try out the streaming service. Ian, I want to thank you, and I hope you have a good week, buddy.
You too, Larry, and take care of yourself, and take care of yourself, everybody out there.
And that'll wrap up episode 100 of the 411 on Wrestling Podcast. Please remember, you can follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, the 411mania.com website, and on any major podcasting platform. Please make sure to subscribe to our show, share us around on social media, and if you have time, leave us a 5-star review on the podcasting platform of your choice. And on a personal note, I just want to thank everybody that has made this show a success and got us to episode 100. Take care, guys.